May 24th, 1998, and once again, race drivers from across the country and around the world have answered the call to come to Indianapolis, Indiana. On 81 previous occasions, an auto race has been held here, and at its conclusion, one person has emerged with a title that he carries proudly for the rest of his life. Indianapolis 500 winner. That time is here again. It's race day in Indianapolis.
Live from the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League Series takes to the air with coverage of the 82nd Indianapolis 500. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League drivers vie for the richest purse in auto racing, over $8 million. Today's live coverage of the Indianapolis 500 is brought to you by Team Monte Carlo, Chevy, the cars more champions trust. By Pennzoil, specially formulated to protect your engine against today's harsh stop-and-go driving conditions. Stop, go, Pennzoil. By Pep Boys, everything but gas. And by Kroger, the official food and drug store of the Indianapolis 500. Now, here's the radio voice of the Indianapolis 500, Bob Jenkins.
The night was filled with heavy rain and thunderstorms, but the rain stopped around 6 a.m., giving us all optimism about the race being run today. It hasn't rained since that time, and the crew here at the Speedway has worked very hard in the last 4 hours to keep everything on schedule. We are not on schedule. However, we are a lot better off than we thought we would be at this time. Right now, they're saying a possible green flag sometime between 11:10 and 11:25 Indianapolis time. So we are on the air now to stay. This month of May has seen several changes from the past years. The practice time reduced to 6 days and time trials from 4 days to 2. Nice weather prevailed through that period. Reaction to the reduced schedule was favorable. 75 entries were received for this year's 500. There were 46 car and driver combinations when practice opened, and during the qualifying, the fastest 33 were chosen. Some of those who failed to make the show include Lynn St. James, who raced here 6 times, and Eliseo Salazar, the Chilean driver, who has been in the last 3 races. Today's field is 6 miles an hour faster than last year's, and the difference between the fastest and slowest in terms of time ties a record set back in 1963, 5.3 seconds. Since we talked with you a year ago, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the world of auto racing suffered a major loss. On April 10th, Mary Fendrick Hallman, chairman emeritus of the Speedway, passed away at the age of 93. Race fans everywhere will most remember Mrs. Hallman as the gentlewoman who in a strong voice declared, "Gentlemen, start your engines," from 1978 to 1996 here at the Speedway. It is in her memory that we dedicate today's broadcast. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Bob Jenkins from the Master Control Tower, welcoming you to our live broadcast of the 82nd Indy 500. We will be delayed, but hopefully not too much. On Carburation Day, the team of Scott Goodyear and Pennzoil Panther G-Force collected over $45,000. In the Coors Pit Stop Challenge, they beat Robbie Buell and the Johns Manville Menard Special, who collected $15,000 from Coors Brewing. Well, the Indy Racing League is proud to welcome on board as title sponsor of the series Pep Boys, the nation's leading automotive aftermarket retail and service chain with 712 stores in 34 states and the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. We go to the pits now, and Chris Economaki, the editor and publisher emeritus of National Speed Sport News, who's standing by with an interview.
Thank you very much, Bob. I'm here with Dave Wolf, the homegrown astronaut here in Indianapolis, who spent, I don't know, how much up there with the Russians were you?
I was up there for 118 days on the space station and about another 15 on the shuttle.
How was the Russian food up there?
The Russian food's good. I like it. We actually had borscht.
Listen, one of the questions I asked, they tell me that every time you came over this place, you tried to find it with a telescope. Is that right?
That's right. I found it with some high-power binoculars. You have to know right where to look, but I saw it. That was my backup plan if I was going to miss the race and stay up there. I was going to count it as my 30th in a row if I could eyeball it through the binoculars.
Listen, what about those space capsules up there? Does somebody have to drive them, or they just go by themselves?
Well, they take a good bit of driving. A couple times a day you have to input information, check on the systems. Sometimes we go manual.
You're up there essentially alone, a couple of guys. Take a look around. You ever seen so many people, Dave?
I tell you, it's a pleasure to be back on Earth, particularly in Indianapolis on race day. And these are the greatest fans in the world coming to the greatest race in the world. There's no doubt, Chris.
We want you to enjoy your day. Thanks for coming by our microphone.
Thank you very much for what you do all these years.
Have a good day.
That's Chrissy Katamaki, the editor and publisher emeritus of National Speed Sport News. The pace car for today's Indy 500 is the all-new 1998 Chevrolet Corvette convertible. This marks the fourth appearance of the Corvette as the pace car, and the first coming back in 1978. Other appearances were in 1986 and 95. The driver was supposed to be golfing great Greg Norman for this event, but recent shoulder surgery prevents him from carrying out that privilege. So the pilot will be a familiar name around the speedway. The 1963 champion of the 500, Parnelli Jones. Here's a 35-year veteran of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network, Chuck Marlowe.
Well, Parnelli, back in 1963, I stood out here and watched with great glee and enthusiasm as you took that checkered flag, and I was right next to J.C. Agajanian, who probably did 3 cartwheels at his age. That was something. The racing profession has become much more sophisticated than then, but it's still leading them down for that first safe lap.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, racing has really changed over the years, and like everything else, I mean, I think a big part of it's electronics. I mean, we're having trouble today keeping up with electronics. It's such a changing thing so fast and everything else, but racing has really went along that way too.
You're leading them down in this beautiful Corvette this year. What's your strategy? How will you approach the green?
Well, actually, we pick up the speed, in the first lap. Actually, we do about 55, 60 miles an hour. Do that same thing on the second lap, maybe up to 70, 75. And then on the last lap, we run about 85, 90 miles an hour. And obviously, when we come off 4 and head for the pits, we accelerate it up to whatever. And it's pretty simple, really. It's just a matter of, being consistent so you don't get the cars jumping up and back and forth. And obviously, it's up to them, too.
After that, and after you leave the track at the 4th turn, it's up to that pace car, or the pole car, to lead them down. Parnelli, great to see you again. Glad to hear your family's progressing the way it is.
Well, thank you very much, Chuck.
Thank you.
Chuck Marlowe with Parnelli Jones, who'll be driving the pace car here at the 500 this year. We are standing by for the opening ceremonies. We have been told that they will commence on schedule. However, they may be interrupted. And gentlemen, start your engines, and back home again in Indiana may be separated from these first ceremonies in order that those might occur, of course, just before the race starts. So we don't know exactly when the ceremonies will be starting, but we hope before too much longer. We welcome back to the broadcast of the 500-mile race, 3-time Indianapolis 500 winner Johnny Rutherford, and it's good to have you with us again on race day.
Oh, Bob, it's always great to be here. This place is a tradition with me. Being a 3-time winner, you just got to come back. It's a sickness. You can't get away. And it's great to see everybody here. The grandstands are full. The color is here. It's a little bit of a gray day, but we hope it gets better. And, of course, we've got a great field of cars ready to do battle for 500 miles. I'm really excited about this.
And we don't, by the way, anticipate any more rain. The radar is clear way back into Illinois and well south of us, so the showers apparently are over. They're calling for a small chance of showers by later this afternoon, but we should reach a high in the mid to upper 70s here with an easterly wind by this afternoon, and hopefully no more rain so that we can get this event in its entirety. Again, we did have heavy rain here overnight and early this morning. However, it is drying very quickly. The track dried much quicker than we anticipated. They were saying earlier that the race was going to start about 11:45 Indianapolis time, but that was changed. And now, again, they're saying that it could be any time between 10 after and 25 after 11, so within the hour. On the racetrack, meanwhile, there are 33 race cars, and in fact, we see that all cars are in their assigned positions. They're separated by 100 feet. Of course, they have their pit crews gathered around them. And that's where the starting command will take place on the grid. The drivers will fire them up, take 3 laps around the course, and then come down for the flying start. And Johnny, apparently the start is going to be somewhat slower this year than in previous years.
Well, yes, it can be. We've experienced that with the rest of the races on the IRL schedule. The fact that we can bring them down slower. They're normally aspirated cars. They don't have to be up into the boost so that they don't light the wheels when they really jump on it to start the race. And I think it's a lot safer that way. I hope we're going to see a picture-perfect start with all of the cars in their positions coming off of the 4th turn and down the front straightaway. It ought to be quite a sight. We've been really talking to the drivers about staying in their position and not racing until after the start-finish line. So I'm looking forward to that, and the fact that it is slower should make it safer.
Let's talk now to another veteran broadcaster here in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. For the 37th year, Howdy Bell is in position. He handles the all-important scoring rundown for those of you that keep the charts. And here's Howdy to tell you how to keep score in today's race.
Thank you, Bob. It's really very simple. All you need to do is write down the left side of your sheet of paper the numbers 1 through 33, representing the 33 positions. Then at the top of the chart, write down 25 lap intervals. That is 25, 50, 75, 100, up to 200. Now we're doing it in 25 lap intervals. I'll give you every 25 laps the position, car number, and driver's name. Now, because we go through the standings quickly, you may want to write down only the car number and not worry about writing down the driver's name. Then at the end of the broadcast, you can go back and chart the progress of each driver. We'll also give you average speed as we can at the end of 25 lap intervals. By drawing up your scoring charts in this manner, you'll have a complete tracking of all 33 drivers in today's race. Bob Jenkins.
Thank you, Howdy. The defending champion of the 500 is Ari Lyondike, who also took the checkered flag in 1990. 5-year Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network reporter Vince Welch is with Ari.
Ari Lyondike just finished up a cup of fruit on his way through Gasoline Alley and walking towards the car. You're in the car that you won the race in a year ago. Is it still a capable car to win here at 98?
I hope it's a good omen. The car has been running really good. The car's been handling good, let's put it that way. And the track condition right now and the temperatures, I think, will suit the car. It did last year. And all our problems this week have been mainly, lack of horsepower because we had some problems with engines. But I think we'll be okay for the race. The car feels good.
You're starting on the inside of row 10, RA 28th. You also started back in the pack in 96. What's the difference starting towards the back this year as compared to that season?
I think that 96, the field wasn't as tight and as competitive as this year. The qualifying, everybody's really close, speeds are really close, and it's going to be a lot more difficult for me to go to the front quickly.
Ari Lyondike trying to become the first back-to-back winner since Al Unser in 70-71.
Now we join the public address system as the opening ceremonies are about to begin.
Up to the start, we would like to welcome Elizabeth Birch, a student at St. Mary of the Woods College in Terre Haute, Indiana, to sing our national anthem.
Early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
Church of Terre Haute, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And, of course, the Purdue University All-American Band.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please remain standing for the invocation to be delivered this morning by the Most Reverend Daniel M. Beekline, Archbishop of Indianapolis.
Lord God, we invoke your presence upon the greatest spectacle in racing, the 82nd Indianapolis 500-mile race. We come as peoples of the world, of many religious traditions, from other continents, countries, and our own home. We speak many languages, yet, O God, we are your one family. Now, with the Holman George family, we pause for a moment of silence in loving memory of Mary Fendrick Holman, so much a part of this grand tradition. Lord, may she rest in peace. Lord God, this Memorial Weekend we offer thanks for the courageous service of our fallen ones. We ask a special blessing for the Holman George family and the many unsung people who contribute to this great spectacle. But Lord, this day belongs to the drivers. Protect them, their mechanics and crews. Keep them and us safe. And for the drivers we pray, que le bon Dieu va avec vous, mega Gott sie begleiten, hut sei met u, Gud velsigne Dei, Dio di guida, vaya con Dios, vai con Dios, Godspeed. And Lord, the Holman George family wish the Pacers well. Amen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to remain standing, please. On this Memorial Day weekend, we pause here in a moment of silence to pay homage to those individuals who have given their lives unselfishly and unafraid to make it possible for us to witness as free men and women the world's greatest sporting event. We also pay homage to those men and women who have given their lives unselfishly and without fear to make racing the world's most spectacular spectator sport.
Our signal is being broadcast to the Armed Forces Radio Network and on 5 shortwave transmitters owned by LaCie Broadcasting. Those transmitters send our voices to Europe, Central and South America, Asia, the South Pacific, and the African continent. To all servicemen and women around the world, we salute you and hope you enjoy the broadcast. A special hello to James Royce Wilkinson, who is currently aboard the USS Stennis, located in the Persian Gulf as part of Southern Operation Watch. The USS Stennis is there to enforce unmandated sanctions against Iraq and to enforce the no-fly zone. Your mother Jude is thinking of you on this Memorial Day weekend as we are. All of us thank you for your service that allows us to witness as free men and women the greatest spectacle in racing. Well, now we anticipate the ceremonies coming to a halt. We have been told that back home again in Indiana will come at 10 minutes after the hour, which is about 17 minutes from right now. And then, of course, we will have Gentlemen Start Your Engines. But again, that depends on whether or not these so-called weepers that we have around the Speedway are all dried up. Those are areas of the racetrack in which water comes to the surface and kind of stays there, and we have to, of course, get all those dried up before we can start today's 500. The Indianapolis 500 is being heard across the country and around the world on radio stations such as KIAK in Fairbanks, Alaska, Armed Forces Radio, LaCie broadcasting shortwave from WHRI in Indiana, KWHR in Hawaii, and WHRA in Maine, WFFG in Marathon, Florida, and WRDX in Dover, Delaware. We'd like to welcome you on all stations carrying the 82nd 500. We go to the pits again, and Chrissy Konamaki.
Thank you very much, Bob. I'm standing here with Bill Furtick-Kevick, the Communications Director of the Pep Boys line of auto stores, which is a title sponsor of the Indy Racing League this year. Congratulations, Bill. What are your thoughts looking at this fabulous spectacle scene here?
Chris, it's nearly indescribable. Pep Boys is ecstatic to be here. The number of people here is astronomical. The attention that this sporting event receives is incredible, and as a Pep Boys employee, we certainly are very happy to be here and participating in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League as well as the running of the 82nd Indianapolis 500.
What's this $1 million story I'm hearing about? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Pep Boys is putting up $1 million, the Pep Boys Million we're calling it, for the series champion. The series champion at the end of the season will split $1 million with the team owner. So there's a big prize out there, a big purse, and we're very excited about it. And this is the third race in the series of 11, as you know. And we look forward to a very exciting event today.
How do our listeners get in on this $1 million?
Well, actually, the $1 million, the Pep Boys Million is split between the winning driver and the team owner. But we also have the MCI Pep Boys $1 million sweepstakes that starts June 15th. You can come into a Pep Boys store, select the driver that you believe will win the Charlotte, Atlanta, and Las Vegas race. And if one driver wins all three races, we'll do a lottery, and that customer will split $1 million with the winning driver.
That's fine. You're going to get some entries from me. Thank you very much, Bill Furtick. Back to you, Bob Jenkins.
Thank you, Chris. And standing by now with the driver who's starting in 5th position today, Robbie Buell. Here's Vince Welch.
Robbie Buell led this race for a while last year before finishing 8th, and I know you're very confident with the team that you're in, and you've got a very solid starting position. What's the key in the early going?
Well, obviously, the one thing is to stay out of trouble, feel out your car, and, figure out what the pace is, keep everybody in sight, or go to the front if you're not, using your car up to do that. I think it's going to be a fast pace. It was last year, and we had a good car last year, so I think we got the same product this year.
You won a 200-miler at Loudon. Big difference between 200 and 500.
Absolutely no comparison. This is a different ball game right here.
Robbie Buell, look for him in the fluorescent blue Johns Manville Glidden Menards Special. Bob Jenkins?
In dramatic fashion, a week ago, Billy Boat from Phoenix, Arizona won the pole position for this year's race with a 4-lap average of 223.503. Billy, one of two drivers for car owner A.J. Foyt. We introduce another one of our pit reporters, 3-year veteran of the network, Mark James.
Thank you, Bob Jenkins. Good morning, everyone. Almost from the time the dust settled on Phoenix, you guys went to work, and you have to feel awfully proud and happy with your efforts since then.
Well, so far the results have been real good, and, it's a long day here at the 500 Indy, and everything's got to fall your way for you to win this race.
You awfully impressed with Kenny and Billy in the way that they've meshed with your crew?
I'm very, very proud of both of them. They've done a fine job all year, and I just hope we can finish this race in style.
Your 40th anniversary, you've been here a while. How much of that can you really relate to these guys?
Well, I think quite a bit. We talk quite a bit about different things that happened to me in the past and all that. And just give them some suggestions, and, if it fits in, use it. If it don't worry about it.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
4-time Indianapolis 500 winner, set on the pole as a driver and a car owner now, A.J. Foyt.
The defending champion of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League is Tony Stewart. Here again is Vince Welch.
Tony Stewart led the first 31 laps of the race in 1996. He led the first 50 laps of 1997. A different strategy here in 98, Tony?
Yeah, lead the last 50, not the first 50, so... we'll just wait and see. We got a really good car, and this Glidden Menard crew has just given me the best of everything all week. We got a little bit behind on our qualifying motors, but, this is it. This is the day we're waiting for.
You're starting from the inside of row 2. Do you like that position from the beginning?
Doesn't matter. This car is going to go to the front no matter whether we start at 33rd or 4th, so we'll just go for it.
Tony Stewart starting on the inside of row 2. A.J. Foyt won from this position twice during his Indy 500 dominance.
Action on the racetrack now in the form of a dog who has wandered out onto the speedway and is running toward the pit area from the north end of the racetrack. Let's hope we can corral that little critter and get him off before high speed. This year here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, former champions of this event were recognized. 6 competitors who won at least one race here were saluted during practice days. And who better to help us reminisce about the past than Donald Davidson, whom we greet and say hello. For how many years have you been on the network, Donald?
I was a guest in 1964, and I've been on regularly since 1965. Thanks, Bob.
Welcome.
I think it's 34. But, yes, thank you. Indeed, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway did this for the first time, and it was very, very well received by the racing enthusiasts that were here. On Sunday, opening day, Parnelli Jones took a lap in his 1963 winning car, the number 99 Agajanian Special, and then signed autographs for much of the day. Monday, it was Bobby Unser in the 1968 Rislone Eagle Offie. Tuesday, Gordon Johncock took a lap and signed autographs all day. On Wednesday, Johnny Rutherford, 3-time winner, was here and took a ride around in the 1980 Pontiac Pace car. Thursday, it was Al Unser, took a couple of laps. Friday, Tom Sneaver in his 1983 winning car, a couple of laps at speed. And then as a special bonus on Saturday, A.J. Foyt took a couple of laps in the 1961 Bo Seal Fast Floyd Travis built Watson Offie and came down the straightaway at about 130 miles an hour, and it was great to hear the Offie roar again.
And he did something like 123 miles an hour down the straightaway. The roar that you hear is the attempt to catch this dog who is now running down pit lane, and he is eluded, and he managed to get by about 70 or 80 people so far, and he isn't stopping now. In fact, you're going to have to be suited in protection or you're going to get bit by this little critter who, of course, is scared to death. Well, all of this in conjunction with the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500. The dog has now run into the Purdue Pep Band and now is loose and continuing to run down pit road. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. Now, stay tuned for the greatest spectacle in racing. And we urge you race fans to check out the Pep Boys Indy Racing League website, www.indyRacingLeague.com. It has online information, team information, pit stop times, lap speeds, weekly Pep Boys IRL notebook information, and also a video history of the Indy 500. That's www.indyRacingLeague.com. Well, there are several new safety innovations in effect for this year's running of the 500. One being used for the first time that will help drivers when there is trouble on the racetrack. And for that report, we go to turn number 1 and Jerry Baker.
Bob, thank you very much. The new system you're referring to is called the Track Condition Radio. It was developed by Delphi Delco Electronics, which is in nearby Kokomo. On the dashboards of all the cars this year, a pair of alternately blinking yellow lights that'll signal a caution condition on the track. They're activated at the same time the yellow flag is waved and the yellow lights are switched on around the track. Now, the lights flash like a railroad crossing signal, alerting the driver that there is some trouble somewhere on the racing surface and that he should reduce his speed. When Brian Barnhart, the Pep Boys Indy Racing League Director of Racing Operations, indicates the pits are open, those lights will then be switched off. Bob, developers of the system spent several days deciding where the antenna for that radio should be placed so it would receive the signal regardless of the car's position out on the racing surface. It was finally decided that the antenna would be placed on the left side pod of the cars. Now, the system was tested very quietly at the 2 previous IRL races this year at Orlando and Phoenix, but this is the first official use of the track condition radio. And, Bob, it's just another indication, I think, of the fact that safety is number one on the minds of the IRL officials and that they are constantly working to make auto racing just as safe as it possibly can be.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Well, constantly looking for ways to make racing safer, officials here at the Speedway have also unveiled a new innovation that could change the entire face of racing. Here with that story in turn number 4 is Bob Lamey.
Thanks, Bob, and good morning, everybody. Yes, safety first. Jerry Baker said it, others have before. Out in turn 4, and something that we can look for future races and here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to be expanded, is something called the PEDS, P-E-D-S barrier. This one extends in 5-foot strips from just before the north end of the pits, 550 feet down on the inside wall toward turn 4. This is a high-density polyethylene material. It is used to cushion crashes. Leo Mel has said it takes as many as 50 G's out of a crash. Anything that does that certainly warrants some further experiences, and that's what they'll get here today. How they tested it before they put it up on the inside wall, they took some of the equipment out here at the track and drove it into the barrier. It worked. It did what it was supposed to do, and so they put it up on the inside wall. Now, Tony George says if it works the way it is supposed to under track conditions, then you look to see it on all of the walls here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and at other tracks on the IRL circuit. So look for the testing today. Hopefully nobody does. It was up carburation day. They didn't need it. We hope we don't need it today. But if there's a test to be had, it's here. Bob?
Thank you very much, Bob Lamey. We'll, of course, hear from our turn reporters a little bit later in the broadcast as the ceremonies are on hold right now. Next up is back home again in Indiana, followed by Gentlemen Start Your Engines. However, again, we're getting varied information as to when they might occur. I think the latest guesstimate now is 25 minutes after the hour. So obviously there are places on the racetrack that are slow to dry. There are 8 rookies in this year's field. The youngest is 21 years old, and Dave Calabro, who we welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network for the first year, is standing by with the oldest rookie.
That's right, one rookie talking to another rookie, but this gentleman has a lot of experience on the racetrack. He's already in the cockpit, locked in, all the belts in place. The only thing not in place are the glasses. Jack Hewitt, I see a huge smile coming from your face. I know you're excited.
Oh, we're ready to go. We're finally living out the dream. You know, we've said we've made it, but now we've not only made it, we are here. It's just a beautiful day. The overcast skies is not doing anything to dampen my spirits.
Just standing by. Now, what will be your approach to this race, Jack Hewitt?
I want to stay out everybody's way, and I want to finish 200 laps. And after the first 100, we should be getting comfortable enough that we can go racing, maybe pass a few cars, and I want to be there at the end.
For a gentleman who's raced everything and won in just about everything, I know this is a dream come true. What are the emotions like inside this cockpit right now?
Well, right now I'm thinking of all the off-the-wall things you can think about, but when I get my first 3 laps going around here by myself, nobody can see me cry.
Jack Hewitt in the cockpit in the 18 car ready to go. A very emotional moment for him and me. Let's go to Chris Economaki. Chris?
Well, thank you, Dave. And that same row on the outside is another rookie. It's a rookie-laden row, is Donnie Beechler. Donnie Beechler drove it Friday night at the fairgrounds and won the race. Way back here in the years leading up to World War II, Paul Russo raced at the 500, rushed downtown, got on a train to St. Louis, got off the train and went over to the racetrack there and drove a midget that night. Well, tonight, after the Indy 500 is over, Donnie Beechler just told me he plans to go about 7 miles west of here to Indianapolis Raceway Park and take part in the USAC midget racing program there tonight. It was rained out last night. So he's going to pick up the tradition that was last done by Paul Russo before the war. And we salute Donnie Beechler for a guy who really loves to race and wish him well in the 500 today. Back to you.
And certainly there are many drivers in today's starting lineup who are in that category, just love to race and will do it in a sprint car or a midget or a Silver Crown car or a super modified or a modified or anything they can get their hands on. Starting second in today's race is Greg Ray, who qualified at 221.125, a very impressive performance by this young man from Texas. Here's Vince Welch.
It's been one of the stories of the month. Greg Ray charged to the front with a great qualifying run. Didn't have much sponsorship. Now he's got sponsorship all over the car, and he will try to win the Indianapolis 500 in just his second attempt. Greg, last year you started towards the back of the pack, and you charged quickly, running as high as 10th. How different is the strategy now that you're starting up in the front?
Well, I can't say that we really had a strategy last year. We moved towards the front because the car was very, very good, and I was being conservative. Unfortunately, we had motor problems take us.
And now, Greg, that you're starting in the middle of row 1, you've been through it once before. Are you more comfortable, or are you a little more nervous starting up in the front?
Well, I'm just as comfortable as I was last year. I think the expectations everybody's put on me now has raised our level of expectations on ourselves. The bottom line is I just want to see the checkered flag. If that's first position or last position, that'll be a huge victory for us. And we want to have a good day. We want to have a safe day, and hopefully all our hard work will pay off, and we'll have a good day.
Greg Ray, he's run strong in previous IRL events, but mechanical problems have always sent him to the sideline. If his car stays healthy for 500 miles, he'll contend to win this race today.
Greg Ray starting in the middle of row number 1 for the Indianapolis 500. The track drying continues to go on. The ceremony's on hold. The good news, however, is the dog has been captured. Indy, Indianapolis 500, IndyCar, and the Indy Racing League are trademarks owned and licensed by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Corporation. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or use of information and descriptions contained in this broadcast without the written consent of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network is prohibited. Here now is the starting lineup for the 82nd Indy 500. On the pole from Phoenix, Arizona is Billy Boat driving the Conseco AJ Foyt Dallara Aurora, number 11. In the middle of row 1, Greg Ray from Plano, Texas, driving the TKM Genoa Racing Dallara Aurora, number 97. Outside the front row from Karlstad, Sweden, Kenny Breck and the number 14 AJ Foyt Power Team Dallara Aurora. Row 2 from Columbus, Indiana, Tony Stewart driving the Glidden Menard Special, a Dallara Aurora, car number 1, alongside his teammate Robbie Buell from Indianapolis in the Johns Manville Menard Special, a Dallara Aurora, car number 3. Outside row 2, Sam Schmidt from Las Vegas, Nevada in the Best Western Gold Crown Racing Special, a Dallara Aurora, car number 99. Starting 7th from East Norwalk, Connecticut, Scott Sharp, driving the Delphi Automotive Systems Dallara Aurora, car number 8. The 8th starting spot goes to Davey Hamilton from Las Vegas, Nevada in the Reebok Nienhaus Motorsports G-Force Aurora, car 6. Outside row 3, the Pagan Racing Dallara Aurora, driven by Roberto Guerrero from San Juan Capistrano, California, car number 21. Row number 4 is car 4, the Pennzoil Panther G-Force, driven by Scott Goodyear from Carmel, Indiana. Next to him, 1996 Indy 500 winner Buddy Lazier from Vail, Colorado, driving the number 91 Delta Fawcett Coors Light Himmelgarn Racing Dallara Aurora. 12th starting spot, Mark Dismore from Greenfield, Indiana, driving car number 28, the Kelly Automotive Dallara Aurora. Inside row number 5, car 44, driven by rookie J.J. Yaley from Phoenix, Arizona, the One Call Communications Quaker State Menards SRS Dallara Aurora. The middle of row 5, Marco Greco from Sao Paulo, Brazil, driving car 16, the International Sports Limited Phoenix Racing G-Force Aurora. Completing row 5, Dr. Jack Miller from Carmel, Indiana, the Crest Racing Dallara Infinity Indy, car number 40. Row number 6, car 81, the Team Pelfrey Dallara Aurora, driven by John Paul Jr. from West Palm Beach, Florida. The middle of the 6th row is Eddie Cheever Jr. from Tampa, Florida, driving car 51, the Rachel's Potato Chips Dallara Aurora. Outside row 6, former Pep Boys Indy Racing League co-champion Buzz Calkins from Denver, Colorado, driving the International Star Registry Bradley Food Mart's G-Force Aurora. Starting 19th, rookie Andy Mishner from Ann Arbor, Michigan, driving car number 17, the Konica Scion Racing Dallara Aurora. The 20th starter is Jim Guthrie from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the number 53 ISM Racing G-Force Aurora. Outside row 7, Robbie Yunzer from Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the number 52 Team Cheever Dallara Aurora. The 8th row, all rookies, number 18 Jack Hewitt from Troy, Ohio. On the inside, driving the Parker Machinery G-Force Aurora. Salem, Wisconsin, Steve Knapp in the ISM Racing G-Force Aurora, car number 55, and Donnie Beechler from Springfield, Illinois, in the number 98 Cahill Racing G-Force Aurora. The 9th row is car number 9, driven by Johnny Yunzer from Sun Valley, Idaho. The car is the Himmelgarn Racing Dallara Aurora. Next to him, the fastest rookie in the field, Stockbridge, Georgia's Jimmy Kite, number 7, the Royal Purple Synthetic Scandia Dallara Aurora. And outside row number 9 is last year's Rookie of the Year, Jeff Ward from San Juan Capistrano, California. Car number 9, the ISM Racing G-Force Aurora. Row number 10, two-time and defending Indy 500 winner Ari Lyondreich, driving car number 5, the Sprint PCS Radio Shack Qualcomm G-Force Aurora. The middle of that row, car 19, the Metro Racing Systems NCLD Riley and Scott Aurora, driven by Stan Wattles from Sewells Point, Florida. And completing the 10th row from Curitiba, Brazil, Raul Boisel, car number 30, the Beloit Fast Rod Team Losi McCormick Motorsports G-Force Aurora. In the last row, Stefan Gregoire from Indianapolis, and number 77, the Blue Star Tokheim Estridge Miller-Reed's G-Force Aurora. The 32nd starter is Mike Groff from Los Angeles, California, driving car number 10, the Jonathan Bird Visionaire Bryant Heating and Cooling G-Force Aurora. And starting last, number 33, the Royal Purple ProLink Scandia Dallara Aurora, driven by Billy Rowe from Gilbert, Arizona. There are 8 rookies, 2 former winners, 19 Dallara chassis, 13 G-Forces, and 1 Riley and Scott. just one Nissan Infiniti Indy engine. 11 cars wear Firestone tires, and there are 22 on Goodyear. We are anticipating the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana by Jim Neighbors in less than 5 minutes now. That is if the track is sufficiently dry for high speed. We're trying to talk with as many drivers in this year's race as possible. Dave Calabro standing by with a couple of them. Dave?
That's right. Good morning. Welcome live down here along the main straightaway at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A gentleman who's seen that checkered flag 3 times in Indianapolis. This is Bobby Unser. Good to see you. Now, as a father, I can't imagine what it's like watching your son climb in this car.
Well, it's a tough deal to do. A happy time, incidentally, but it's tough, Dave. It was a lot easier to do it myself. And, of course, I can imagine what he feels like today because I can really remember when I was a rookie here.
And Robbie Unser's been in the cockpit here for at least 10 minutes now. You were in there leaning over talking to him. What kind of things advice are you giving him right now?
Well, I'm just telling him you guys are giving us the best update of anybody. Of course, radio knows. So I'm just telling him where they are on the weepers. We got little weepers around the track to the folks that may not know. And I'm just giving him an update like when they're going to start the engine so he knows. He's already gotten out and gone to the bathroom once, you know.
That's the key thing.
That helps a whole bunch.
Now, all the Unser wins have come on the 24th. We don't want to put any pressure on Robbie or Johnny today.
Well, everybody's told them that, and they've been thinking about it, but you know, they've got a lot of pressure anyway. I mean, I don't want everyone to think that because somebody wins on the 24th named Unser all the time that they have to. I just want them to both have good races, finish the race, and run well.
Well, Bobby Unser, great to see you. Best of luck to your kid today. We'll watch Robbie Unser in that Rachel's Potato Chip car number 52. Now let's go to the front of the field where Billy Bode is standing by with our Vince Welsh. Vince?
For the second time in his young career, he'll start from the pole, but it's the first time starting from the pole in the greatest race in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the Indianapolis 500. Billy, what's going through your mind here as I know they just strapped you into the car and fastened the belts?
Oh, we just want to stay focused and get a good, clean start, be there at the end.
And what was Brian Barnhart's message in the drivers' meeting, specifically to you as the guy on the pole?
Well, we just want to have a nice, clean race and, get the field on the front straightaway. Try to slow the start down a little bit to clean it up a little bit.
Billy, obviously this race isn't won on the first lap. You got to go 200. Does it change your strategy any starting from the front as compared to maybe starting a little deeper in the field?
I think it just lets you stay at us, maybe some of the trouble. They can get in back in the middle of the field.
Billy Bode on the pole. It's the first A.J. Foyt car on the pole since 1975.
The day is filled with auto racing. The NASCAR Winston Cup Series running the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The Winston Cup competitors will return here to Indy for the 5th Brickyard 400 on the 1st of August. Let's check in with Doug Rice with a preview of this evening's race at Charlotte.
Thanks a lot, Bob. You know, there are a lot of subplots heading into today's running of the Coca-Cola 600 here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, NASCAR's longest race of the season. First off, can Mark Martin make it a clean sweep at Charlotte this week? He won the All-Star race, the Winston, last Saturday night, and yesterday captured the Busch Grand National CarQuest 300 event by passing Jimmy Spencer with just 4 laps to go. Second storyline, can young Jeremy Mayfield, who is the current NASCAR Winston Cup points leader, get a victory to go along with the fact that he is having an absolutely marvelous season? And, of course, it could be a huge day for 5 drivers eligible to pick up an extra $1 million from R.J. Reynolds if they should win the Coca-Cola 600. Those 5 include Bobby Labonte, Jeremy Mayfield, Ken Schrader, Rusty Wallace, and also Daytona 500 winner Dale Earnhardt, who likes to race here at CMS.
We have had some big days here at Charlotte. I've made up a couple laps and won a race here and the 600, and I've been competitive here, and I've not qualified that well here and ran second and had opportunity to win too. So it's a racetrack you can't overcome it from qualifying and overcome deficits during the race and make it up. So you can keep working. It's a long race. You can keep working and tuning on that race car. And from the start of it at 6 o'clock till at the end of it at what time it's going to be, it's going to be a good race, and you adjust and got time to do it. And usually you got a caution or two to do it in.
The 600 is scheduled to take the green flag at 6:15 Eastern. For the 5th straight year, Jeff Gordon will start on the pole, and Ward Burton's Pontiac will start on the outside of row 1. Gordon, of course, is the defending race champion. The Pep Boy Indy Racing League makes its annual stop at Charlotte on July 25th. From the Charlotte Motor Speedway, I'm Doug Rice.
Thank you, Doug. Well, there is an individual here who, like John Andretti a few years ago, is trying to do both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. His name is Chocolate Myers. He's the fueler for the Dale Earnhardt team, and he's also working here at Indianapolis with the A.J. Foyt team. Here's Vince.
Working with Billy Boat today, and Chocolate Myers was just telling me it's his first experience, his first trip to the Indianapolis 500. What do you think as we stand down here along the grid before they get going?
Well, you know, I've told other people here that it's just so special to be here at Indianapolis. Probably one of the most special feelings I had in racing is just walking in this place for the first time some years ago. Now, I mean, we were coming up to practice NASCAR, Winston Cup cars, and it's still just being in this place was absolutely fantastic.
And you've got to catch a plane for work tonight, right?
Well, we've got 3 o'clock, probably our deadline. We're going to lose an hour of time change, but yeah, we've got to be back in Charlotte just a little bit past 6. Featherlight Trailers, Mechanics Wear, they've bailed me out on this deal and sponsored me. They've got a jet sitting over here. So we tested the other day. We did it in an hour and 1 minute. So if we don't have too much race traffic at Charlotte and we can get in there in a helicopter, I think we can make it. It's going to be awful tight, but you know, it's worth taking a chance to be a part of this great deal here.
It's a busy day for Chocolate Myers, but one he'll never forget.
And a guy that is one of the most colorful people on the NASCAR Winston Cup scene. We are delighted to have him with us here at the Indianapolis 500. Now they're saying that, gentlemen, start your engines will be at 11:32 and back home again in Indiana at 11:30, and that would be 3 minutes from now. The track temperature, Johnny Rutherford, is 77 degrees. And, boy, when you compare that with some of the temperatures we've had here during practice up into the 130s, it's a very cool racetrack.
Well, it is, you know, but once they get going and get some friction between the tires and the pavement, they should be okay. I hope everybody has, I'm sure they will have that into consideration, because remember a few years ago when everybody in the world spun out after a caution flag because of the cool conditions. And I think probably the fact that we do have a tire war between Firestone and Goodyear, the tires might be a little softer, so we may not even see that enter into it. I'd like to say that with Chocolate Myers working down there, if Foyt breaks an air jack on Billy's car, Chocolate can probably pick it up for them. He's big enough.
Johnny, we heard Jack Hewitt say that he's probably going to be shedding some tears in the first 3 laps of the race. I know that Eddie Sachs, the great Eddie Sachs, who was killed here in 1964, was not at all embarrassed to cry when he was in his car as the Back Home Again in Indiana is sung. Did you ever have those emotions?
You know, yes. It's hard to say, oh yeah, every time they did it, but there are times when, the pressures of the month, everything that you've experienced, and it's finally come down to time to go. And I always looked at it as just a little bit of a relief, because you're strapped in the car, you're the captain of that ship, and when they push you away or the engine fires, everything else melts away, and you are down to business. It's time to go racing, and it is emotional.
We have about 1 minute and 20 seconds reportedly till Back Home Again in Indiana. We have time to talk with the other champion of this race. We talked to Ari earlier. Here's Buddy Lazier with Vince.
Buddy Lazier won it all in 1996. Last year he finished 4th. He's run strong here the last 2 years. Struggled early in the week to get the car ready, but they were all smiles on Carburation Day. Buddy, do you feel like you've got a car that can win the race?
Well, we sure hope so. The guys really worked hard. We did struggle, and we think we've got a pretty good balance on the car, but time will tell. We'll have to, I'll be able to answer that question perfectly in about, hopefully in about 45 minutes.
When you woke up this morning, did you think we'd be running the Indy 500 today?
No, I really had some questions. It's amazing that it's dried up the way that it has.
Buddy Lazier will start from the middle of row 4, the 1996 Indy 500 winner.
Looking down toward the starting line, we see Jim Neighbors. He, however, has not walked up onto the platform from which he will render Back Home Again in Indiana. And then, of course, immediately after that, we will have the command to start the engines. It is just about 11:30 Indianapolis time. We are a half hour late getting this race underway. However, it looks like that it's coming very, very soon. Again, we're going to join the public address system here in just a moment to have the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana, and also the command to start engines. The skies are definitely
fans,
brightening.
Thank you for your patience. It sounds like you're ready. It's time for that traditional singing of Back Home Again in Indiana. Here's our good friend, Mr. Jim Neighbors. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends out its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana home.
Traditional balloons are released behind the control tower.
Yes, all is ready. We've reached that time, certainly an emotional time for all of us. And here to give those famous words to start the 82nd running of this event is the chairman of the board of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mrs. Mary Holman George.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
There's the command of Mary Holman George. And the engines roar to life.
Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm Bob Jenkins in the Master Control Tower, welcoming you again, and we're now ready for the start of the 500. The cars are moving. All 33 are underway and behind the pace car. As a matter of fact, now the sun is beginning to poke through, and Johnny, a lot more optimism than there was 4 or 5 hours ago.
Oh, definitely. And of course, with the cars fired and everybody away from the line, the pace cars moving out, the crews scurrying back, taking all of their equipment back to their pits, getting ready for this. We're ready for the 500.
All the pit crew members now going to their respective assigned pit areas. As I said, all the cars are rolling. They currently are moving through the south end of the racetrack and on to the backstretch. So now that gives us an opportunity to introduce the gentleman who will be assisting me in calling the action on the racetrack. First of all, in turn one, we heard from him earlier, but he is a 25-year veteran of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network, celebrating his silver anniversary of service during race day, the television voice of the Indiana Pacers here in Indianapolis. Good morning, Jerry.
Bob Jenkins, good morning to you. God, I didn't realize I'm getting that old, my friend. I'll tell you, these race fans are the best down here. This weather didn't bother them a lick, Bob, and we got a terrific view. We're in the penthouse area with a complete look up the main straightaway into the number 4 corner where you'll meet Bob Lamy in a couple of moments. When they come down through here for the first lap, you just don't know what's going to happen. There have been a lot of problems in number 1 throughout this past week in practice and in qualifying. In fact, you can still see some of the skid marks that go up against the outside wall. Let's hope that is not the case today.
The field has reached the end of the backstretch. We have some ceremonial pace cars on the track right now. However, they will be pulling off, leaving the field in command of Parnelli Jones in just a couple of more laps. In the southeast corner of this vast facility is Ken Double, who is with us for the 4th time today. Ken is the radio voice of our Indianapolis Ice, our International League hockey team. Good morning, Ken Double.
And good morning, Bob Jenkins. As I look to my left, a sea of color with these fans, everybody on their feet. I have a good shot of the south short chute to my left, right through turn 2. To my right, the suites and the back straightaway. As I look ahead, I see the Indy Fan Fest, the golf course, and what's turning out to be a spectacular day at Indianapolis, and we're indeed going to get this race in.
It's still a little bit hazy and cloudy here in Indianapolis. However, the skies have brightened somewhat, and occasionally we will see a little bit of sunshine peeking through. Now we look up toward the north end of the racetrack, and we see the ceremonial cars pulling off of the track and onto pit road, and now just one pace car ahead of the field. They'll take 2 more laps before getting the green flag, or at least that's what we are anticipating. At the end of the long backstretch is veteran race announcer Gary Lee, who covers motorsports for several television networks, and he's with us today for his 9th Indianapolis 500. Good morning, Gary Lee.
Hi, Bob. I don't care how cloudy it is. If the track is dry, it is a beautiful day. And what a beautiful sight as they came through turn 3 for the first time. I have to tell you that when Jim Neighbors began back home again in Indiana, the sun actually broke through for the first time this morning, and everybody over here in the Northeast Vista stood up to salute this great event. It's going to be a great competition.
And you know, when Back Home Again in Indiana was being sung, Donald Davidson, will call upon you. I don't ever remember, and maybe I just didn't notice, but the people in front of us, and I guess all around the racetrack, stood up for the singing of Back Home.
Oh, well, it's they waited a long time for it, and it was special. As Gary Lee observed, I was going to point out the fact that it was during the singing of the song that the sun broke through, the very little breeze, the balloons went straight up in the air. That doesn't happen very often. And also, when the cars were going down the backstretch on the first lap, they were beautifully lined up. It looked like it was the 1960s again.
In the fourth turn, the northwest corner of the track, is the radio voice of the Indianapolis Colts, Bob Lamey. He's working his 11th race here on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. And Bob, good morning to you again.
Good morning, Bob. Good morning to everybody. Yes, as everybody you have heard from already has said, it is a good day. We are going to get this race in. The cars are coming through 3 right now. We can see over toward 3 and wind up in a situation where they come through the North Short Chute and into turn 4. We've got a sweeping view down the main straightaway. The pace car is out in front. Everybody is standing. Everybody is ready for the start of this race. We should have a great day. And yes, we're a little late starting. That's not going to put any damper on this race at all. Jerry?
Absolutely not. We are just about ready now for the actual pace lap. We have had 2 parade laps, and now the pace lap is beginning. Parnelli Jones in the Corvette pace car is well ahead of the field, but it appears as if the field is fairly well aligned. At this point, several years, we've seen the field much more spread out, but it's looking in pretty good shape right now as it once again moves out of the north end of the racetrack and here onto the main straightaway. The front row is right at the line, and they're being given the signal. Next time, if all is in order, we will have a green flag. We see a car making a pit stop. We'll check on that in just a moment. We'll see as he comes down here who that is, but one car is in the pits. It's Raul Boisel making a pit stop. Jerry Baker, they're in front of you.
All right, Billy Vogt with that Hunter green car gets by me here. This front row of Vogt, Ray, and Brack only in their second race in each of these machines, the second 500. Second row, Tony Stewart, Robbie Buell, Sam Schmidt. Keep in mind that Sam Schmidt and Kenny Brack did not complete a single lap last year. Row 3, look out for Scott Sharp in car 8, and Davey Hamilton in the middle. Roberto Guerrero on the inside of row 3. They're in the short chute. Kenny, got a good look at him over there, buddy.
In row 4, the 2-time bridesmaid, Scott Goodyear. And then the winner in 96, Buddy Lazier. Dismore outside of 4. In 5, rookie J.J. Galey next to Marco Greco and the racing dentist Dr. Jack Miller, with John Paul Jr., Eddie Cheever Jr., and Buzz Calkins in row 6.
About halfway down the backstretch. In fact, in row 7, 8, and 9 of the 9 drivers, there are 6 rookies. In row 7, Andy Michner, then it's Jim Guthrie with 2 races experience, and Robbie Unser, rookie outside. An all-rookie row in row 8, Jack Hewitt, Steve Knapp, Donnie Beechler, and the 9th row, Johnny Unser, rookie Jimmy Kite, and last year's rookie of the race, Jeff Ward. They're entering the North Short Chute. Coming your way, Bob Lamey.
Here they come into turn number 4. As we get set for the start of this race, everybody forming up row 10. R.A. Lyondike, who has won the race. Stan Waddle's a rookie in the middle. And on the outside, Raul Boisel, who's in the pits at the moment. And row 11, Stefan Gregoire, Mike Groff, and Billy Rowe. They form up 3 abreast. They come through 4. It's clean. It looks like we're ready for a great start. And here to call the start of the 1998 Indianapolis 500 is Bob Jenkins.
Pace car in the pit area with Parnelli Jones. The field comes down, looking good. The green flag is out. We're underway. The 82nd Indianapolis 500 is on, Jerry.
And Billy Bolt makes a strong move to the inside. Greg Ray drops down to the number 2 spot. Then comes Kenny Black. Tony Stewart in the number 4 spot. We watch the field as they come by. We have a car smoking. We have a spin. A spin. 2 cars. One against the outside wall. Did not make any contact. And we have a yellow flag already. It is car 44. That's J.J. Yaley. He has it coasting down toward the white line, Bob. It looked to me like maybe somebody's engine let go right in front of me here, and Yaley did a terrific job of keeping that thing off the wall. He's down in the grassy area now, down onto the warm-up lane, and we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Well, Johnny, I think you and I were watching the same thing when they were coming down here just past the starting line. There were about 4 cars that were running side by side, and really there was no room for that many cars in that small area.
There isn't, and it's the guys try to take advantage, and the cars they're so close together on the start. This thing can happen.
It was a spin. It was not a crash. We did not have any contact with the wall, but J.J. Yaley did lose it going into turn number 1. He slid up against the outer wall, but there was no contact made. J.J. Yaley is a 21-year-old rookie, in fact, the youngest driver in the race, Donald.
In fact, somebody spun right in front of him, Bob, so J.J. Yaley had to take evasive action. Also, Raul Boisel has gone out onto the track after the start.
J.J. Yaley's car is in the warm-up lane now, and it appears as if he will be able to get restarted, but it did bring out our first caution on the first lap, turn number 1. Jerry Baker reports from turn 1 that the engine is going, and so J.J. will be catching up with the rest of the field. Donald?
And again, I don't think we explained that very well, but it looked like somebody got sideways in front of him and then straightened it out and got going again. We don't know who that is.
In any case, we are under caution here at Indianapolis. Because of an incident on the first lap, Raul Boisel is indeed moving once again, so his problem in the pit area apparently has been corrected. He rejoins the field for the continuation of this race. Well, off to a rather bad start here. Let's hope that doesn't occur again.
Well, we certainly hope so. That it's inevitable when you have 33 cars that close together. And circumstances are such that, it's cold, a little bit chilly, and the engines were not warmed up a great deal. So it's hard to say what might have caused that, but somebody slipped and caused a chain reaction. And thank God Yaley was able to gather it up, keep from hitting the wall, and they're all back running again.
Dave Calabro's in J.J. Yaley's pit.
That's right. They're saying right now that they're claiming that J.J. had nowhere to go, that Eddie Cheever gave him no room to run and basically gave him no choice. Now the crew is standing by. They've got all the gear up and over the wall. Looks like they will try to change all 4 tires on the machine. The board comes out. Now they're going to signal him into the pit. Let's watch him go to work here as J.J. Yaley spun the car, did a nice job for a young kid keeping it off the wall in his first ever Indy 500. They're telling him to slow down with the car. Brings the car in. It does have power at this time. All 4 tires will be changed. They're making no adjustments to the car as it appears right now. He will take on some more fuel, which is kind of surprising at this point. And then now they're having to vent the car a little bit. And Yaley seeming to have some problems. One of the mechanics yelling up over the wall for some help. Having some problems with the air jack. The air jack finally goes up, and then now J.J. Yaley taking on 4 tires, and looks pretty routine at this point, Bob.
And we see Eddie Cheever, as you mentioned, making a stop, but he is rolling once again down the pit road. We do not see Yaley pulling out. Apparently Jack Hewitt also made a pit stop. There he goes back out onto the racetrack. Yaley is finally moving. However, Raul Boisel, I believe, is still on pit road as the signal has gone out that the drivers will be getting the green next time around.
Yeah, Bob, I think the thing with Yaley was he slid so far sideways with the tires locked up, he had to have flat spotted those badly, and it would have been quite a vibration to continue, so he needed to change. It looked like one of the cars that left here had a new set of front tires, so it might have been a balance situation. They needed to change the tires. Sometimes that happens.
cars up in the north end of the track. Quickly, a comment from Jerry Baker before we go green in turn one.
Bob, last night I happened to be at a party for the Conseco family. A.J. Foyt was there, as was our pole sitter. I asked both of them, what are your plans for the first lap? They absolutely refused to give me any indication, but it became very clear to me very early on that Billy Boat was going to try to go to the front of the field. He did, and now they're in front of you.
And they're green once again. Billy Boat the leader. Greg Ray running in second position. Tony Stewart has a bad start. They head for one.
And they got the move down inside. They've got Billy Boat comfortably out in front. We'll see if we can get him through number one again here. Here comes the field. We're watching for two-time winner. Are we Lion Dyke? He goes by in front of me right here. Here comes the rest of the field. They're splitting out. They're all going to make it safely through here. Car number 18, Jack Hewitt, is last. We head down the back stretch. Let's go to turn 3 and Gary.
Looks like Greg Ray takes a look on the high side, then tucks back in behind Billy Boat, who leads it. Right now in third position is Tony Stewart. His teammate being challenged for the fourth position on the inside is the Reebok car of Hamilton.
And Billy Boat leads him out of turn number 4 once again. Greg Ray is second. Tony Stewart is third. Robbie Buell in fourth position. Davey Hamilton fifth. And Scott Goodyear has moved to sixth spot as they race into turn number 1 once again and head for Ken Double in turn number 2.
And indeed the same order as now. It appears that Billy Boat's starting to get a little bit of room. Single file through. We've been watching Roberto Guerrero move smoothly through as well, as again the field gets through 2, and now they're headed to 3 and around 3 and toward Bob Lamey in 4.
As they go through the North Short Chute again, it is that Hunter Green car of Billy Boat. The car number is 11, leading Greg Ray, who's in second place. Following in third is Tony Stewart. His teammate Robbie Buell is fourth. Davey Hamilton, Scott Goodyear, Sam Spitz follow in order as they clear 4. The field spread out through all the way from 4 to 1.
Greg Ray closes in on the leader of the race, reducing the interval to only 1/10 of a second. It's really a matter of less than a car length as they once again race through the south end of the track and onto the backstretch. Billy Boat continuing to lead here. He took the lead from the drop of the green flag and has held it ever since. I thought when we went green there that Tony Stewart had a difficult time. It looked like that he was not going to get up to speed quickly, but apparently he did. He's still hanging in there in third position. Once again, in the north end of the racetrack now, heading around turn number 4. Boat leads them out and now stretches out that interval just a little bit on Greg Ray. Tony Stewart hangs in there in third. They're in turn number 1.
Billy Boat strongly out in front. Tony Stewart dives to the inside, changes his mind, cuts Greg Ray back in the number 2 spot. Robbie Buell once more. They're in that little short chute down here, over in front of Ken Double.
And indeed, single file, same order through. Billy Boat leading Greg Ray and Tony Stewart down. And once we got this thing cooking after that opening incident, things are smooth as they head toward Gary Lee.
I can't imagine what the orders would be from A.J. Foyt for Billy Boat except to get out there and lead as many laps as you can, lead all 200 if you can, and he's leading right now in turn 4.
Billy comes sailing through turn 4 in good speed. It's Greg Ray. Tony Stewart trying to reel him in. He's third as they approach the start-finish line.
We'll keep our eye on the race on the track. Meanwhile, let's get a report on Raul Boisel from Mark James.
Phil McRobert and crew have their fingers crossed that they have solved a fuel pressure problem. That is what has sidelined Raul early, but again, he's back underway.
Boisel rejoins the field. However, he is some 5 laps down now. On the backstretch, we see the leader heading toward turn number 3, Gary Lee.
The battle could be ensuing for second position as Tony closes it within about 3 or 4 car lengths of Greg Ray across the North Shore Chute into turn 4, but it's still up in front. That Hunter Green number 11.
Stewart, Robbie Buell, Davey Hamilton, and Scott Goodyear as they go to the main straightaway. This field is really strung out now.
Boisel is back in the pit area. Let's go to Vince Welch, who's in Scott Goodyear's pit. He's running 6th.
Scott Goodyear started on the inside of row 4, but he moved up quickly. His crew says the car is running very well right now, and he can continue to make his way to the front.
Indeed, he's only about 2.5 seconds back of the leader, running in that 6th position. Billy Boat down the backstretch once again in 3, Gary.
Well, now the gap a little wider between first and second and third. Greg Ray still there in second. Then it's Tony Stewart and his teammate Robbie Buell back in 4th.
And again, it is that Hunter Green car leading the way, followed by Greg Ray, and then Tony Stewart, Robbie Buell, Davey Hamilton. Same as before, they're clean and green.
Everybody running in single file formation at the moment. We don't see any real wheel-to-wheel battles right now. The last lap was turned at 213.523 miles an hour by the leader. Now we see a battle ensuing here. We have Jim Guthrie and Jeff Ward wheel-to-wheel in one.
Well, Jeff Ward's been really strong. He'll settle into the outside and jump back in behind now. They'll go single file into the short chute and now over into the number 2 turn.
And at this point in time, Guthrie able to hold them off and maintain position. They're back to single file, but a little bit of racing going on now.
Already through turn 3. In fact, those were the 2 teammates that were battling. Jeff Ward, last year's Rookie of the Year, and Jim Guthrie on the same team. The only team with 3 entries in this year's 500.
They're in single file coming through, and that gap is stretched a bit with Ward leading Guthrie, everybody through 4.
That battle has broken off as Ward was able to get by Guthrie, and Ward is running in the 19th position, make that the 18th position at the moment. And this is the second time that Billy Vogt has led in his second Indianapolis 500 start. He led last year for just a single lap. But right now we are 10 laps into the Indianapolis 500, and he continues to lead. Meanwhile, we see Raul Boycel's car is being wheeled back apparently to Gasoline Alley. The driver has vacated the cockpit, and our first out could very well be Raul Boycel. On the racetrack, meanwhile, it's still pretty much status quo as Billy Vogt has a 0.3 of a second lead on Greg Ray. Tony Stewart is running third. Fourth position is Robbie Buell. In fifth is Davey Hamilton. Sixth place is Scott Goodyear. Seventh place belongs to Kenny Breck. In eighth is Sam Schmidt. Ninth is Buddy Lazier. And in 10th position, Roberto Guerrero. 11 laps have been completed. The last lap, a little slower for the leader. He was down to 209.171, but that's not really a surprise, Johnny.
No, it really isn't. It's a situation where you want to settle down.
Here's a battle for the lead. Greg Ray goes inside in turn 1.
Greg Ray's got him wheel to wheel. He's got him past. Billy Vogt drops into the number 2 spotlight now. What a great move by Ray. Pick him up over there, Kenny.
Greg Ray indeed ahead of car number 11, and Tony Stewart on the inside trying to make a move around Billy Vogt. But Greg Ray in front of this race right now with a great move headed to 3.
Halfway down the backstretch, it is Greg Ray out in front, the youngster from Plano, Texas. But the battle now is for third, and third prize now belongs to the Menard teammate. That's the number 3 car. Robbie Buell passes Tony Stewart for third.
Greg Ray leads as they come through 4. Then it is Billy Vogt with Robbie Buell in hot pursuit. Tony Stewart right behind him, and then it's Davey Hamilton.
And he stretches out the advantage, Greg Ray does. He has a 0.7 of a second lead now on second place. Johnny?
You know, I think probably what happened there was Greg was sitting back behind Billy Vogt, taking a beating from the turbulence off of his car, and he thought, hey, I don't need any more of this. I'm going to go up front where it's a little smoother, and it looks like that's what he did, and he's going away.
Let's find out what happened to Raul Boycel. Mark James?
Obviously dejected Raul Boycel walked away. He's talking with Dennis McCormick right now, and again, as we told you earlier, it was a fuel pressure problem that they battled and quite frankly couldn't get a handle on.
So that's the story of Raul Boycel, who's going to be the first out in this year's race. They come by the start-finish line again. It's Greg Ray leading Billy Vogt, Robbie Buell, Tony Stewart, Davey Hamilton. Now Scott Goodyear makes a move on Hamilton, Jerry.
He will get that spot taken away from him. He'll pull up into the number 5 spot right now. And now Robbie Buell's going to get tested by Tony Stewart, number 2.
Robbie Buell around Tony Stewart to the number 3 spot in the race as these cars are finding some power, and we've got some racing going on in the early laps at Indianapolis.
I'm not sure John Menard wants his teammates to battle this hard this early, but they've been working on each other. But right now, Buell has third. Tony Stewart is fourth.
Greg Ray still leads coming through 4. Then it is Billy Vogt, followed by Robbie Buell. Now Tony Stewart right on his tail. They head to the start-finish line. He made a move.
Here's Tony Stewart inside of his teammate Robbie Buell. Did he get him, Jerry?
They're side by side. They come very close. He does get him. Now he sets his side on Billy Vogt. Billy Vogt now being pressured and maybe being caught in number 2.
Tony Stewart right behind Billy Vogt as they get through 2 to the back stretch. Vogt stays ahead. Stewart maybe looking to make a move to the inside. We'll wait and see. Gary Lee.
A big gap between first and second, then second, third, and fourth. Almost nose to tail on the racetrack, like that 500 Festival parade yesterday. They're single file across the North Chute.
Again, it is Greg Ray smooth through 4. The main straightaway. Now trying to go low, coming through 4, but not making it. Tony Stewart trying to get around Billy Vogt. They settle in. Bode is second. Stewart, then Robbie Buell making a move.
Hey, Buell wants that third position back from his teammate Stewart, and he battles him in one.
Well, I tell you, he has to settle back into the number 3 spot, and Tony Stewart clear down below the white line. He's right on the bumper of Billy Bode in the second corner.
As they move through two, Tony Stewart tries to make his move. He's parked right behind Billy Bode, moving down the back straightaway and trying to make his move to Gary Lee.
Well, as this battle continues, the leader really opens up a big gap. It's still Billy Bode in second, about 4 car lengths over Stewart. Now Stewart again with the left side tires under the white line. He makes the move and takes second position.
Tony Stewart coming through two has moved into second. The crowd's cheering. He's moving away from Billy Bode. Robbie Buell, the Menard teammate, trying to move on Bode as well.
And the number 91 car of Buddy Lazier has gone to pit road. Meanwhile, this battle ensues. We see Sam Schmidt making a move on Davey Hamilton, and Hamilton has been losing positions, and we think that maybe something is wrong with his car. We'll check on that. Meanwhile, here's Vince Welch in the pit of Buddy Lazier.
I just got out of the pit of Davey Hamilton and talked with Rick Gallis. He said everything is fine. They're just settling in. As far as Buddy Lazier is concerned, he's been screaming on the radio, I can hardly hold on to this thing. So obviously some major troubles in the handling for Buddy Lazier.
We are 17 laps into the Indianapolis 500. Greg Ray has a 4-second lead on Tony Stewart. Running in third position is Billy Bode. Fourth is Robbie Buell. And in fifth position is Buzz Calkin. Back in Indianapolis, all kinds of things happening. Tony Stewart had taken the lead. However, it's all over for him. The engine is apparently blown. The car is on the racetrack. Dave Calabro, what do you hear from his pit?
I'm standing right here with Larry Curry. He throws his hands up in disgust. Larry, it just happened. It looked like it just popped.
Yeah, I mean, morning, no nothing, just bang, so that's it.
I know you guys were preaching for him to be patient. Do you think he pushed it too hard too early or not?
Yeah, our whole deal was that we wanted to run conservative early, run with some guys to see what kind of car we had in traffic. He felt that. He knew where he was at, made his move, took the lead, and bang.
What's he saying on the radio?
No, he just said that's it. You know, it broke, so that's that.
So Tony Stewart, third year in a row, terrible disappointment at Indianapolis. Back to you.
Well, Tony Stewart is out of the car. Jerry Baker in turn one, you have a better view than I.
I got a perfect view, Bob. He is a very disgusted young man right now in his third 500. He finished fifth last year. He simply came down in front of me here. You can see the engine let go. He kept it off the wall, did a really nice job of driving out there. And although I'm a couple of hundred yards away, you can almost read the disgust on his face. He got out of the cockpit in a hurry, took the driving helmet off, then took the gloves off and threw them as hard as he could into the cockpit of the automobile. And it was interesting because as he was there, Robbie Buell came by very slowly. And I don't know that there was any acknowledgement, but you can see that he's a very unhappy young man. He had led 107 laps coming into this year's race. He will lead no more today.
And of course, we'll keep our eye on the Pep Boys Indy Racing League point standings because going into this race, Tony Stewart was successfully defending his championship of last year with a lead over Jeff Ward. But of course, Tony is going to be out early, Johnny.
Bob, do you know what this does? It brings the field all together again. We got a brand new race.
And I'll tell you what, we had seen some great racing there in the first 22 laps with positions being changed virtually every lap. One thing I want to talk about, Johnny, the engine let go right here at the starting line, and before he got to the middle of turn one, he had the thing stopped.
Well, yes, and you can do that, and he stayed to the outside, which was very good. Didn't put down a lot of oil, I don't think. The way it looked, it was just kind of spraying into the air. It might have been some water, in fact, but something shook in the car, and he knew it was done, and we saw him out of the car.
Okay, we have a lot of pit stops being made now. We see Greg Ray coming in. Here's Dave Calabro.
Right, Greg Ray telling his crew on the radio that he's extremely happy with the car. He just wants 4 new tires. He says he's only been running in 5th gear, hasn't even used 6th gear yet. He's that happy on the radio, and they're keeping the talk on the radio to the minimum. Right now he's concentrating, trying just to be smooth around the track, and he's out of the pits.
And several other cars and drivers are also making pit stops. In fact, one of the few drivers left on the racetrack is Jack Hewitt, so he may get credit for leading this lap. We'll check on that. Meanwhile, let's go to Vince Welch.
Stalled the motor trying to get out of the pit lane, so it's obviously a much longer pit stop than they desired. So not a good stop for Bode and the Conseco team, and A.J. Foyt very upset with his pit crew's performance.
You know, this first pit stop, Bob, is critical. The guys haven't made one under fire. They've been out running very hard on the racetrack. They come in. I just saw Scott Goodyear nearly miss his pit down there. And it's the first time is always the toughest because you've got to look for everybody. You've got to get on the spot. And then I saw some cars, Billy Boat stall leaving.
Let's go to Mark Janes. Mark Janes, are you there? All right, we don't have a report from Mark Janes apparently. We do have cars now completing their service and going back out onto the racetrack. And so, under this caution, we are at the 23 lap mark. And Greg Ray still is in the pit area, so obviously there are problems with that car. Let's go to turn 3.
Well, Tony Stewart has gotten back in the car. He has a tow right now, the car being towed around the track on the north short chute, and he has to be so frustrated because there is some question as to whether this could have been Tony's last Indy 500 for a while. He has a commitment to Joe Gibbs to go NASCAR racing next year, and we're not sure if the youngster from Rushville, Indiana will be back 1 year from now.
Well, indeed, we will have to wait and see if Tony decides to go full-time NASCAR Winston Cup racing next year, John.
That was not Greg Ray that was having the problem in the pits. I think that was Ward. Jeff Ward was down there in the Tabasco car, and he was sitting there as they had some problems.
And he is still in the pits, by the way. And at the moment, it is Greg Ray being shown as the leader. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 25 laps completed. Greg Ray, the leader. Kenny Breck, one of A.J. Foyt's drivers, is second. And Billy Boat, the other of Foyt's drivers, is 11th. Here is Vince Welch.
A.J., what happened when Billy came in and stalled the motor?
Well, when the guys turned around and stopped him, and he shouldn't have done it, just a screw-up, that's all.
Lack of communication as Craig Baranowski was trying to keep Billy Boat from getting out in traffic as the other cars were leaving the pit area, and A.J. thought he had enough room to go on, but when Baranowski stopped the boat, he stalled the car. Let's go upstairs.
We have a problem with Ari Lyondike as he is in the pits and apparently stalled at that location. Quickly to Vince Welch for a report.
Problems twofold for Ari Lyondike. First, they put on the wrong wicker on that last pit stop, and now he's got a clutch problem, but he does get it out and away from pit lane, and he's rolling.
And the field comes out of corner number 4 and gets the green flag, and we are back to racing with a huge traffic jam here on the main straightaway as cars dive and dodge for position. They're in turn 1.
Greg Ray started from the middle of the front row. He is now comfortably out in front. He's got one lap car to deal with. They're lined up with Wade, Black, Hamilton, and Goodyear in the second corner.
And they get through too smoothly as we look the rest of the field. Single file through and cleanly into turn 3 and Gary Lee.
Well, that car that's about to be lapped is Buddy Lazier, that purple 91, about 4 or 5 car lengths out in front of your lead car, Greg Ray, as they're now in turn 4.
All right, Lyondike goes by, then Lazier, then it's the leader, Greg Ray, Kenny Breck, Davey Hamilton, a gap for Robbie Buell, Scott Sharp, as they head down the main straightaway.
And Scott Goodyear comes in for a stop. Dave Calabro, what's the story?
That's right, the cowling comes off the car. Scott Goodyear desperately pounding on the steering wheel right now. They have a clutch problem. His day could be over. The team frantically taking a look at it, but it does not look good for Scott Goodyear, who may have disappointment at Indianapolis once again.
Wow. Scott Goodyear, a 2-time runner-up, having problems here in the early going.
That's right, the cowling comes off the car. Scott Goodyear desperately pounding on the steering wheel right now. They have a clutch problem. His day could be over. The team frantically taking a look at it, but it does not look good for Scott Goodyear, who may have disappointment at Indianapolis once again.
Wow. Scott Goodyear, a 2-time runner-up, having problems here in the early going. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, by the way, a while ago I suggested that possibly Jack Hewitt be given credit for leading a lap. He will not. He was a lap down when he stayed out there during the caution flag. Let's go to Mark Janes in Jeff Ward's pit.
One of those things that sometimes happen that you don't have any control over. He ran over a wrench in Mike Dropp's pit on his way out. It damaged the right front wing on the nose cone. They had to replace the entire front wing and the nose cone. Jeff Ward is back underway.
Now there are 2 cars running right ahead of the leader of the race, Buddy Lazier and Ari Lyondike. Right now, both of those drivers are still on the lead lap, but they are at the tail end of the lead lap. Here's our first 25-lap rundown with Howdy Bell.
In first position, car 97, Greg Ray. Second, 14, Brack. Third, 6, Hamilton. Fourth, 4, Goodyear. Fifth, 3, Buell. Sixth, 8, Sharp. Seventh, 21, Guerrero. Eighth, 99, Schmidt. Ninth, 12th Hawkins, 10th 55 Knapp, 11th 11 Boat, 12th 28 Dismore, 13th 16 Greco, 14th 51 Cheever, 15th 52 Unser, that's Robbie Unser, 16th 81 John Paul, 17th is 53 Guthrie, 18th is 40 Miller, 19th is 5 Lyondike, 20th is 98 Beechler, 21st is 33 Rowe, 22nd is 17 Michener, 23rd is 19 Waddles, 24th is 9 Johnny Unser, 25th is 77 Gregoire, 26th is 91 Lazier. They're all in the same lap. One lap back, 27th 10 Groff, 28th 7th Kite, 29th 44 Yaley, 30th 18 Hewitt, 31st 35 Ward, 32nd 1 Stewart, and 33rd 30 Raul Boisel. The average speed 152.217. There's your rundown at 25 laps.
All right, Howdy, and on the racetrack with 29 laps completed, Greg Ray has a 2.3 second advantage on Kenny Breck, and his last lap was a 211.099 for Greg Ray. And I know some of you may be asking, who in the world is Greg Ray? Well, Greg Ray is from Plano, Texas, and has been in the Indy Racing League for a couple of years now. Had a very impressive performance in a couple of races last year. He came here to Indianapolis and missed the first 2 days of practice, but on the third day became one of the fastest in practice and has been fast ever since. So we'll definitely keep an eye on Greg Ray and see whether or not he can continue to put on a very impressive performance here at Indianapolis. There's Kenny Breck. Third place battle between Davey Hamilton and Robbie Buell isn't bad in turn one.
Davey Hamilton will hang on to that spot with Robbie Buell wisely deciding to back in. Bob, we're seeing some strange racing down in the number one corner down here. Guys are coming 3 wide. Let's go to the second corner. Second corner, Kenny.
Greg Ray on the inside of turn 2 has slowed down and maybe not yet to a stop along the center part of the back straightaway, but Greg Ray may be through for the day. Our leader is no longer Greg Ray as he slows heading to Gary Lee.
Well, he is still coasting, but probably not under power. So Greg Ray headed for that lane, that pit entrance lane, here off the third corner.
No caution yet. It's the second time in just 31 laps that we've seen the leader fall out of the race. Let's go to Dave Calabro in Greg Ray's pit.
Sounds like they have transmission problems for Greg Ray. This rookie team that's worked so hard. Sounds like they have serious transmission problems as they're frantically trying to talk to him on the radio. He'll be coming into the pits momentarily.
He is in the warm-up lane. He is off the racing service, and so we will not have a caution for this. But, Johnny, for the second time in a row, we see a guy get out front, and then all of a sudden it's over for him.
Well, it's a shame, and, you know, we don't know. Maybe this is a trend. We've seen Stewart break, and now we've seen the leader of the race, Greg Ray, break and coasting into the pits with the supposed transmission problems. Maybe there's something going on here we need to look for.
Kenny Breck is the leader of the race now, running in second position, 2.8 seconds behind is Robbie Buell. Third is Davey Hamilton. Fourth is Scott Sharp, and in fifth position is Sam Schmidt. Back at Indianapolis, let's go quickly for a report from Vince Welch.
Billy Boat just came in. He'd been complaining about the car being loose, so they made some adjustments to the front wing. His teammate Kenny Breck is in the lead, and Breck will stay out, not make a pit stop this time around.
And we might remind you we are under caution because Donnie Beechler had a major engine explosion, or so it appeared, bringing out the caution. Dave Calabro standing by with Scott Goodyear.
Yes, with tears in the eyes once again. Scott, disappointment at Indianapolis, and it was going so well early.
Well, I'm not really too sure exactly, but I'll tell you, I believe that we lost the clutch, lost some drive on that first pit stop for some reason, put it in gear, and it just didn't have as much drive leaving, and I knew in the warm-up laps, but I was going to have a problem. I'm disappointed. We had a great car. We went right towards the front in the start and the restart, and the car felt like a great race car today. We really felt confident with it. I'm really disappointed. I can't even believe that we're up right now. Everybody in that Pennzoil team did a great job this week and getting ready for the race. Everybody in Northern Telecom is here. Hard Rock Cafe guys came on board, and they've had a great time. We got a lot of people here today, and we're sitting in the front, sitting back and watching what's going on. I just wanted to get to 450 miles, and the car was good everywhere. Traffic, everything. I'm in disbelief.
There's a trend developing here. Gearbox problems also for Greg Ray and a couple other guys.
Well, you know, I'm not sure what's going on with those guys. I believe it's a clutch on ours. Maybe it is a gearbox, but you know, these cars are now going 5-6 miles an hour faster than last year, and we've learned from them within 1 year. We're tuning up the engines, the gearbox, everything, and I'm still in disbelief.
We're still under yellow at Indianapolis. Scott Goodyear's day is done early once again. Let's go to my colleague in the pits, Vince Welch.
Robbie Buell is running second to Kenny Breck, but Buell is talking with his team on the radio, somewhat concerned about the water temperature gauge because it's indicating that the pressure is way up, but the car is not particularly running in that manner, so they think possibly they have a faulty gauge, but keep an eye on Robbie Buell.
Billy Boat captured the pole position on pole day and received $100,000 from PPG Industries. PPG will present this award to the winner of the pole in each Pep Boys IRL race this season. And any driver to win consecutive pole positions this season will receive an additional $10,000. We'll go green on lap number 39 here in just a few moments. Our most recent caution caused by a Donnie Beechler problem. Here's Mark Janes.
Crew is pouring over the car right now. They say from what Donnie told them on the radio, the motor let go. So an early end to the day for a dejected Cahill Racing bunch. They had to make the long haul up to the north end to push it down pit road. Now let's go to Dave Calabro.
Well, we're standing here with Greg Ray, still in the cockpit of the car, shaking his head. Can't believe what has happened here at Indianapolis after qualifying on the front row. They've got the hammers out. They're whacking on the back of that gearbox, trying to pop it off. They're going to try to replace that gearbox with another one and at least go out and complete a few more laps. So another heartbreaker for Greg Ray here at Indianapolis.
Raul Boisel, by the way, is back on the racetrack, so he will be trying to get out of that last finishing position. Meanwhile, the green flag flies. We are back to racing at Indianapolis, and very quickly, Davey Hamilton and Scott Sharp make a move on Robbie Buell.
And Robbie Buell will have to drop into third spot now as that beautiful number 6 car of Davey Hamilton takes over the number 2 position. Black, Hamilton, Buell, Sharp, and Smith into the number 2 turn. A familiar car, number 14, owned by A.J. Foyt, driven by Kenny Breck, now leading this race. They are single file, cleanly through 2 to the back stretch and headed toward Gary Lee.
Well, Hamilton has new sponsorship for this race. That's the Reebok color scheme that was on Eliseo Salazar's car. When Salazar was bumped out of the race, the transfer was made to put the sponsorship on Davey Hamilton's number 6.
Well, Kenny Breck leads. They come through 4 with Hamilton, then Sharp, Buell, Sam Smith, and Eddie Cheever in that order, heading to the start-finish line.
And here is Eddie Cheever trying to make a move on Sam Schmidt as they head for turn number 1, Jerry.
And Eddie Cheever will get that move taken care of. Schmidt will drop back 1 spot. There's been a lot of great racing in this number 1 turn today. They're lined up single file going into the second corner.
And again, that move made. They're single file cleanly back through 2. With Breck leading, and again the field headed to Gary Lee.
Status quo here in the 9-degree banking of turn 3, but give a call to Steve Knapp, the rookie who started this race in 23rd position, is now riding in 7th position, having a great ride in that iridescent orange number 55.
Eddie Cheever will move from 17th to 6th, trying to make a move on Robbie Buell as they head to the start-finish line. Everything else single file.
And they are single file down the straightaway. We also need to give a call to Eddie Cheever, who has moved up to the 6th position. He was one of those, we believe, involved in that incident on turn number 1 of the first lap. Did come in for a pit stop and rejoined at the tail of the field, and he has worked himself up nicely to currently run in the 5th position. It's a 0.6 of a second lead for Kenny Breck over Davey Hamilton as 40 laps have been completed. The fastest lap that time was turned by Scott Sharp, who went 2:10.477. The leader was a 2:07.536. Here they come down the straightaway once again, and they're in the same order, so let's go quickly to Dave Calabro.
Well, we're keeping an eye on Scott Sharp right now. His car, he's climbed into the top 5 there and riding strongly. They say he has a little bit of push in the car, but he's happy with that at this point in the race.
Eddie Cheever just picked up another position in turn number 1. He got by Robbie Buell. Mark Janes has a report on Eddie Cheever.
As always, being the cool, calm, and collected Eddie Cheever, Owen Snyder says that they're just kind of laying in wait. They're going to save it for the end. But Aries, very, very happy with the run so far. Let's go to Vince Wells.
Well, the team in our camp is not happy with the run of Robbie Buell. Buell just communicated with the team on the radio that his motor has been tightening up. He's got a huge vibration. He just communicated with the team on the radio right now. So Robbie Buell doesn't seem to be long for the Indy 500.
Well, Robbie Buell just lost another position. Rookie Steve Knapp just passed him by. So put Knapp in the 6th position as we have racing everywhere on this oval. And we might point out that Ari Leyendijk and Buddy Lazier significantly benefited from that most recent caution. They were running right ahead of the leader, but of course were able to go clear around the track. And now Ari Leyendijk has moved up to 16th position. So what looked to be a a tragedy there in the pits a few laps ago is not that way at all, as Ari Leyendijk is very much in this race, and Buddy Lazier is in 22nd position, some 14 seconds behind. The field comes down here and completes another lap as they are pretty much in single file. Racing back here, Mark Dismore and Robbie Unser are running relatively close together, but no positions are changing, Johnny.
Boy, rookie Steve Knapp is doing a very creditable, smooth job. He's moved himself, into 6th place now, and he's just closing in on the guy in front of him.
Let's go to turn 2, Ken Double.
Robbie Buell ducked into the pit lane from right in the center of the south chute, and he is slowing to a stop now as he passes the turn 2 sweeps. A problem for Robbie Buell. He got caught up in some traffic and then all of a sudden had to duck into the exit lane inside the racetrack, and he's stopped now at the center of the back straightaway.
Meanwhile, Eddie Cheever, the caution comes out. The yellow is out, but not before Eddie Cheever took 2nd position, Johnny, and that man is flying.
He is on the move. Eddie is a steady Eddie, is moving right up. His car must be working really well. He passed for 2nd just very readily and moved on, and I'm sure the yellow is for the Robbie Buell car, and they're going to check to make sure he didn't dump any fluids on the track to cause anybody problems.
Well, it's a sad day for Menard because both of his cars are apparently out of the race, as Robbie Buell is stopped in the backstretch and Tony Stewart was out of the race a little bit earlier. So John Menard not having a good day here at Indianapolis. Well, the caution comes out. Will we see some pit stops? Apparently the pits are closed at this point, as the pace car has not yet picked up the leader, who is Kenny Breck. Here's Dave Calabro again.
We're in that pit where Robbie Buell has had problems. Larry Curry is here. Larry, what happened with this car?
Well, I guess it started running hot and it started losing oil pressure, so we told him to just, we don't want to wreck somebody else's race.
This has to be the most frustrating day you've had in years.
Unbelievable. I cannot believe this.
Larry Curry walking off in disgust.
Well, he certainly should be that way. It's not been a good day at all, because here in the first 45 laps he has seen both of his cars fall out of competition. Now the pace car has picked up the field and is being very slowly led down the backstretch. So the pits will be open this time, and I assume we would see some more pit stops this time, Johnny.
I would think so. The guys want to take, if they've got a problem with their car that they can't cope with in the cockpit, i.e. moving the roll bars or doing the weight jacker, then it's going to be a situation. They'll be in here to make some wing changes and take on fuel and new tires and be ready to get back out and go for it.
Robbie Buell's car is on the back of a wrecker as it goes down the backstretch. Buell pulled off the racetrack just past the exit to turn number 2. And the field is behind the pace car up in the north end of the racetrack. And in a few seconds, we'll know whether or not we will see some pit stops during this caution. We assume that we will. Here comes the pace car out of corner number 4. And the field dropping down, and indeed, looks like everybody on the lead lap will take advantage of this caution for some pit stops. The sunshine is out here in Indianapolis. First, we go to Mark Janes.
Owen Snyder, the crew chief, also the guy on the right front. He's waving the arm. Cheever pulls it in. A smooth stop is underway. Sticker, Goodyear Eagles going onto the car. Fuel, load of fuel, obviously. Cheever with a strong run here early. A couple of revs, he's down and away at 12.48. A little bit of a stall. He had to wait for traffic. Let's go to Vince Welch.
The leader, Davey Hamilton, is in the pit. He takes tires on all 4 corners. They refuel, and he is out in 12.78. Kenny Breck with a very strong stop for A.J. Foyt. Dave Calabro.
The racing team quickly into the pits with Scott Sharp taking on 4 tiles fuel, and he's quickly away.
And there goes Billy Rowe pulling out just in front of us. Jack Hewitt coming down. And we'll see how the scoring serial comes out here as they line up behind the pace car. The reason for the caution, Robbie Buell's car has already made it around here to pit road. So Robbie will be obviously taking that car behind the wall and back to gasoline alley, we would assume, although for right now he just goes into his assigned pit area.
Yeah, they'll look it over and make sure that it's not something they can fix, but I'm sure if it was vibrating and he he had a sudden big vibration, and he's out of it.
46 laps have been completed here in Indianapolis, and we're going to take a break under this caution as Kenny Breck leads the Indy 500. Arnelli Jones takes the pit car off the racetrack. Buzz Calkins and Buddy Lazier apparently did not pit. They are out front as the green flag comes back. We are racing once again. Calkins is third in line. 2 slower cars ahead of him in turn 1.
Calkins has never led a lap coming into this race this year. He's not in front right now. Rest of the field, Lazier, Brett, Hamilton, Sharp, and Smith into the short chute over into the number 2 turn.
Calkins and Lazier cleanly through. Oh, and we've got 2 abreast, 3 abreast, 4 abreast coming through too. Big time racing going on behind the leaders headed to Gary Lee.
Incredible traffic down the backstretch. It looked like Sam Schmidt in that red and white car almost hit the grass on the inside, and he spins. A spin. Sam Schmidt hard in the wall. 2, 3, 4 cars involved in turn 3, triggered by Sam Schmidt. 5 cars involved in turn 3 across the north short chute, triggered by Sam Schmidt. We see Guerrero involved in car 21. Looks like Waddles in number 19. It all began down the backstretch. As Ken called it, it was a huge traffic jam across the back straightaway into turn 3. Schmidt got sideways after getting almost in the grass down the backstretch, and we're looking at maybe 6 cars involved down here.
We do see Stan Waddles getting out of his car. Mark Dismore is involved. He is still sitting in his car with the back of the car up against the wall.
Yeah, the other one is Guerrero. He's climbing out of his car. And
turn 3, Gary, can you see anything else?
Well, we can also see it looks like one of the Scandia cars, and that would be the 33 car, is in that warm-up lane. The driver walking around, he is okay, Billy Rowe. We also see Sam Schmidt out of his car. Now, Sam Schmidt's car is still up along the short chute between 3 and 4. He is out. The rear of the car is gone. The field now being brought down through the grass, but there's debris everywhere in the grass, in the infield, on the racetrack. The part of the Scandia car, that number 33 car, Billy Rowe, is actually in that warm-up lane. So they're picking their way through gingerly with debris everywhere.
We're taking a look at it on replay, and indeed Schmidt just got down. He had a car on the outside of him and got down into the grass and lost control, spinning up across the track and into the wall. And then there were others coming along that also spun and hit the wall. We did see one car go very, very hard into the outside wall, around the corner into the short chute. We will not identify who that is right now, but he did go in very, very hard. And as Gary indicated, a lot of debris. The car that went into the wall very hard hit looked like a front wing that had come off a car. Yeah. He hit it and then took off for the wall.
Well, he was in the grass as well when he cut across there, so it was he was out of control when he got in the grass.
Let's go to Dave Calabro.
Mark Dismore's pit right now with owner Tom Kelly. You watched the replay. Do you know what happened?
It just looked like Sam Schmidt got tangled up with somebody. And Mark started slowing up, and somebody bumped him from behind, it looked like, and he spun into the outside wall. But he's okay.
He is on the radio. He is okay.
He said he was okay.
All right.
He's upset, but he's okay.
All right. The day is over for Mark Dismore from Greenfield, Indiana.
It's going to be over for many drivers here because this accident, a very serious one. We have seen several drivers get out of their cars okay. They are working on someone down in the short chute between turns 3 and 4. Gary, can you see who that might be?
No, actually, the car is right now in front of 2 safety vehicles. The ambulance is there. My view is obscured from my vantage point. The drivers that I can see are out walking around and apparently okay. So the only question now is who is in that car at the actually the exit of the short chute.
We have been given information that 6 drivers are involved: Roberto Guerrero, Stan Waddles, Mark Dismore, Sam Schmidt, Jim Guthrie, and Marco Greco. Greco, we do see right now his car, at least from the angle we are watching, does not appear to be seriously damaged. And it could be that he stopped at the scene of the crash, or maybe there is damage on the part of the car that we cannot see.
he might have hit some debris. There was a lot of tires and suspension parts and wheels and things laying all over.
Well, the 82nd Indianapolis 500 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway being heard all across the U.S. and around the world on stations like WIRL in Peoria, Illinois, KCRG in Cresco, Iowa, KRSL in Russell, Kansas, WQTM Orlando, Florida, and CJCL in Toronto, Ontario. Gary, turn 3.
Well, everybody now is looking at Billy Boat, who has parked the car here in turn 3, about 3, 4, 5 feet above the white line, and we see some smoke coming from the air intake, so there may be a major engine problem on that Hunter Green Conseco A.J. Foyt number 11. Safety crewman running down to talk to Billy. He remains in the cockpit. As the cars were going very slowly through 3, he simply stopped, and as we indicated, he's now climbing out. There is some smoke coming out through that entry to the air box. So obviously the day is over for the guy who started from the pole position. Nice round of applause for Billy Boat from Phoenix, but he will become a spectator here.
Driver that led the first few laps of this race now apparently out. Billy Rowe add to the list of the drivers involved in that crash, so at least 7 were involved in this major crash up here in turn number 3. And we believe that the driver that is being worked on between turns 3 and 4 is Jim Guthrie. And certainly we do not speculate on any condition. Chuck Marlowe is our man who is roaming the garage area and is also assigned to the medical center here at the Speedway. Let's go to Dave Calabro in Roberto Guerrero's pit.
All right, Roberto Guerrero actually got out of the car, thought he was involved in the accident. It turns out he had a tire go down in the accident, in the scene of that accident. Now he's going to bring that 21 Pagan Racing machine back to that pit area. In fact, he rolls in with no power at this point. They're going to change the right front tire and the left rear is what is going on. In fact, now they've decided just to go ahead and do all 4 while he's here, taking on no fuel, and pretty calm right now at the Guerrero pit.
Under caution here at Indianapolis, 51 laps have been completed. And again, we are under caution because of an accident up in the 3rd turn that involved at least 7 cars and a lot of debris up in that area of the racetrack. So it's going to be quite a while before we will be able to go back to the green flag. Now, let's go to Vince Welch.
Well, the day seems to certainly have ended for Billy Boat. A.J. Foyt just spoke on the radio, said that the gearbox has been burned up. Obviously, the competitive juices flowing very heavily here in the Conseco pit. Billy Boat was running very, very well, and they were confident of their chances, but the gearbox has gone awry, and that's going to put an end to the day for Billy Boat.
We're giving you the rundown at the end of every 25 laps. We are on lap number 52 now. Here's Howdy with the 50-lap rundown. And Howdy, you can take a little bit more time since we are under caution and will be. Before we do, let's go to Mark Janes, who's in Jim Guthrie's pit.
Members of the crew telling his wife, obviously very, very concerned about her husband, Jim, that he was talking with the safety crew as he was being taken out of the car, giving her instructions on where she could meet up with him at the infield medical center. But it appears Jim Guthrie is again conscious and alert.
Well, that is the news we had been waiting on. Now, Howdy, go ahead.
In first position, car 12. This is at 50 laps. First position, 12, Calkin. Second, 91, Lazier. Third, 14, Brack. Fourth, 6, Hamilton. In fifth, 51, Cheever. In sixth, 8, Scott Sharp. In seventh, 52, Robbie Unser. In eighth, 5, Lyondike. In ninth, 81, John Paul. In 10th, 77, Gregoire. In 11th, 17, Michner. In 12th, 9, Johnny Unser. In 13th, 55, Steve Knapp. 14th, car 11, Billy Boat. In 15th, 7, Jimmy Kite. In 16th, 10, Groff. In 17th, 18, Jack Hewitt. In 18th, 44, Yaley. In 19th, 99, Schmidt. In 20th, 28, Dismore. In 21st, 21, Guerrero. In 22nd, 19, Waddles. In 23rd, 53, Guthrie. In 24th, 16, Greco. In 25th, 33, Rowe. In 26th, 35, Ward. In 27th, 40, Miller. 28th, 3, Buell. In 29th, 98, Beechler. In 30th, 97, Ray. In 31st, 4, Goodyear. 32nd, 1, Stewart. And 33, 30, Raul Boisel. Cars through 13, Steve Knapp, are all on the same lap The average speed 140.834 miles per hour at 50 laps, Bob.
And 52 now completed. Here's Chris Economaki.
You mentioned Billy Boat parking the car down at the end of the back straightaway. The lap before that he came by here was a deep, throaty boom, 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 boom engine sound. So we knew some problems existing there. And if Johnny Rutherford is up there, you know, when this race began, it was quite chilly. It was overcast and cold. And now the sun is beating down. It's hot. The air is thin. And I'm wondering if these atmospheric changes are affecting the engine settings. These cars are so critical as to adjustments. John, do you have any comment on that? Are these guys concerned because the weather has changed so much since the time the race started?
Well, it certainly could be, Chris. You know, these engines are temperamental, as you say, and it could be that this might be a problem for some of them. But I would not really think so, because, you know, an engine, you know, it's cooler, it likes it better. If it gets hot, I want to venture a guess as to why these problems we're seeing. But, you know, this is the Indianapolis 500, and it is a long race, and a lot of things happen.
Oh, Johnny, in your days as a driver, what was the difference in the track between the sun being behind a cloud and not being behind a cloud?
Oh, it was very critical, Chris. You know, the situation being the tires are the things that are adhering the track, and when it gets hot, the sun's beating down on it, you lose traction and you slip and slide a little bit. When it gets cloudy, they tend to hook back up and make it a little better. So definitely you like it to be a little cloudy.
Thank you, John. I'm always living and learning from you.
It's been a day of ups and downs for Buddy Lazier. Right now he's up as far as he can go in the lead. Dave?
That's right. We're down in the pit here with Ron Himmelgarn, the guy who back in high school was voted least likely to succeed. Well, he's succeeding right now with Buddy Lazier. They're running up a number one position, and Mr. Himmelgarn says that his car likes that clean air right now, and everything's moving pretty smoothly for that 96 winner. Let's go to Mark James.
Brad Calkins, father and team owner for Buzz Calkins. They were pretty happy about the opportunity to come in on this most recent yellow. Buzz was not happy with that second set of tires, so they threw the stagger off a little bit, made the car handle a little on the rough side, but he's happy now, and everything is fine with Buzz Calkins.
We've had 6 leaders today: Billy Boat, Greg Ray, Tony Stewart, Kenny Breck, Stan Waddles, and the current leader, Buddy Lazier. Bob Jenkins back at the Master Control Tower at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we remain under caution with 54 laps completed, and Buddy Lazier leading this 500. Let's go back to turn number 3 and Gary Lee, who can summarize this big crash that we had up there.
Well, I think Ken Double called it coming off the second corner down the backstretch. They were running 3 and 4 wide with that red and yellow car of Schmidt down almost to the infield grass. As he entered turn 3, the rear end skated out from under him in a counterclockwise position. The car came across the track and slammed the outside wall. That forced everybody else that had been running 2, 3, and 4 wide to check up, get on the out of the throttle, on the brake, and then it became the domino theory. They just ran into each other like billiard balls, and the debris is still being cleaned up across that north short chute. And Johnny Rutherford, that's why the guys are so concerned with qualifying. They want to start up in front in case something like that should happen. They don't want to be back in the middle of the pack. And that same problem arises after each restart when they bunch up.
Well, yes, that's true, and those are the most critical times in the race, is the start when you're all bunched up, 33 cars close together. You have to really be on your toes and take a lot of caution, because anything can happen, just like it did the first lap. Then we have a situation where they get a restart, the cars are close together, guys are jockeying for position, trying to make a move on one another. Something happens, causes another car to lose control, and it's another chain reaction wreck, and we've got a problem. So the guys really have to stay on their toes, and we've got 8 rookies in the race, first time, and some of them were involved, and it's just one of those things you have to learn about this place and make the right moves.
Let's give you the top 5 here. The leader is Buddy Lazier, second Kenny Breck, third is Eddie Cheever, fourth Scott Sharp, and in 5th position is Ari Lyondike. Let's go to his pit. Vince Welch.
Lyondike has lost first gear, so the team has to push him out of the pits when he comes in for a stop. But the good news is Ari has moved all the way up now to 13th. To 5th place, all the way from 28th. Another guy that's on the move, how about Stefan Gregoire? Started 31st, currently in 10th. He's finished in 4th the first 2 races of the season.
And Dave Calabro also has a report. He's in the Scott Sharp pit.
That's right. They're saying they're pretty lucky under the situation here. They came in for a pit stop just before that accident because Scott Sharp said he wanted a little more downforce in the corners. His car not liking that dirty air when he gets behind other cars, so they want a little bit more downforce through the corners, and it seems to be working right now. They're anxious to go back to green to see how it will respond at speed. Let's go to Mark James.
Just talked with Paul Diatlovich about Jack Hewitt. Said, hey, how's Jack feel? He said, oh, he's having the time of his life. He's reporting in that the car is handling just fine. They got a lap down early, and Paul said they had hoped to get that lap back by now. Just hasn't worked out that way with the cautions, but he says they're keeping their nose clean, and if Jack keeps doing what he's doing, Paul sees no reason why they shouldn't have a top 10 finish. He's currently running in 18th place.
Let's give a call also to John Paul Jr., who is running in the top 10. He's up to 6th position. There are 13 cars on the lead lap at the moment. We gave you the top 5. In 6th position is John Paul Jr. 7th is Buzz Calkins. In 8th is Davey Hamilton. 9th is Robbie Unser. 10th position, Gregoire. In 11th is Andy Michener. 12th position goes to Steve Knapp. And 13th spot, the last car on the lead lap, is Johnny Unser in car number 9. Gary, how's the cleanup coming up there in turn 3? Still got a few more laps?
Well, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is they have most of the shrapnel off the racetrack. The bad news is they still have a lot of oil dry. They have a street sweeper up there and probably about 20 crew members up there with brooms sweeping. So we will be under yellow for a while.
This is our 5th caution of the afternoon. The very first one came out. First turn, first lap. J.J. Yaley spinning without hitting anything. Second caution was for Tony Stewart and his engine problems. Third was for Donnie Beechler, his engine problems. Then Robbie Buell stalled for the 4th caution. And this multi-car crash up in turn number 3 was the reason for the most recent. Again, let's give you the drivers that were involved in the incident. Roberto Guerrero, Stan Wattles, Mark Dismore, Sam Schmidt, Jim Guthrie, Marco Greco, and Billy Rowe. Those 7 drivers involved in this crash. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and just when you thought it might have been over for Billy Boat, well, maybe it isn't. Vince, what's the story?
Well, there's a new rule that you can go back to the garage and replace any piece of equipment on the car except the motor. You've got to run with the same motor. Well, Billy Boat's problem was the gearbox, so they took him back to the garage. They've taken care of it. They just wheeled him out. They fired up the car, and they're getting ready to push him out. Now it's stalling again, so they haven't got him out yet, and they've just turned the car off, so it looks as though they're going to work at it some more. AJ told Billy Boat, ride it on and keep your head cool. So we'll see if Billy Boat can get out there and make his way towards the front of the pack once again. Let's go upstairs.
All right, Vince, thank you. Donald Davidson, there's some good runs by rookies so far.
Yes, there are, and I just want to comment on the piece of news that we just learned. I heard this discussed, but I didn't know that we were doing it. But it's actually a safety measure so that crews are not working on the cars and doing, an extra amount of work and being vulnerable when other cars are coming in to make pit stops. So now they do allow them to go back and make that change, but it throws us off a little bit because we've been used to a rule for many, many years that when you go through the pit gate, you're out of the race. Not anymore. So when we see them pushing the cars back, that doesn't mean they're pushing it back for the day. That means they're pushing it back to see if they can fix it. Okay, so looking at the rookies, the highest running rookie right now is Robbie Unser, who's running in 9th place in the lead lap. Then we have Andy Michener is in 11th. Steve Knapp, who was up to 6th earlier, is running 12th at the moment, also in the lead lap. Then we have Jimmy Kite as a lap down in 14th. J.J. Yaley, who's had quite an eventful day so far, but he's running 15th, 1 lap down. Jack Hewitt is in 16th place, 1 lap down. And I didn't count up. I think I'm looking for 2 more. One would be Stan Wattles, who's out of the race because of the most recent accident. And then Donnie Beechler is out of the race because of an engine problem. That car has been pushed away, and it comes up on the screen out of race. And so now we know that we can put that there are now 2 rookies that we believe are out, and the other 6 that we mentioned are still running.
And we do have Billy Rowe here making a pit stop in front of us. And we also see Greg Ray's car is back out on the racetrack. Dave Calabro is in John Paul Jr.'s pit.
That's right, Bob. And right now, Team Pelfrey very relaxed and laid back. John Paul Jr. started 16th, now riding in 6th position in that number 81 car that he took over for Danny Ungaias. So the gentleman who's been in 6 Indy 500s has a lot of experience here. Is John Paul Jr. just sitting back, relaxing, says the car's working quite nicely right now. Let's go to Mark James.
thing running smoothly for Robbie Unser. The crew says that they've been talking back and forth. That is when they can get Robbie to answer. He's very, very comfortable in the car, and there really aren't any problems. His crew kind of taking it from the fans, though. Robbie lost a bet, and all of those guys on the crew are having to wear Chicago Bulls helmets in front of a lot of Indiana Pacer fans here. Let's go to Vince Welch.
Well, a follow-up on Billy Boat. They did not replace the entire gearbox, but they have made repairs to it in the garage. The problem is when they came back out to push Billy Boat off from pit road, the car would not go into gear as they needed it to. So now they're about to take the cowling off again and continuing to do work on the car. Now, another note on Roberto Guerrero, talking about going back to the garage and getting work done and coming back out. There's been some major work done to the Guerrero machine. He's been out off the track for 17 minutes, but he's only lost 9 laps. So they feel as though they can put Guerrero back out on the course, and he can still have a respectable finish.
Still waiting for the cleanup to end over in turn number 3. A lot of debris up there because of the 7-car accident, and indeed a few minutes ago it was Jimmy Kite who made the pit stop in front of us and not Billy Rowe, because he was one of those involved in the 7-car crash.
You know, Bob, with these new carbon fiber cars, with all this lightweight bodywork and everything, they seem to shatter like glass when they impact the wall, and it makes a lot of small pieces of carbon fiber, which are like little razor blades almost laying out there. So the crews have to pay real close attention to getting it all up, because it could be a problem if a car ran into it and pulled one up with his slipstream and another car hit it right with a tire. It could cut it instantly. So they've really got to make sure the track is clear because of these new bodies on these cars.
And with the bodies flying off, these accidents look a lot more spectacular and worse often than they are. That's not to downgrade by any means this accident that just happened, but we do believe that there aren't any serious injuries, although we will get a report from Chuck Marlowe back in the hospital area before too long. Donald?
Bob, for those people that are Formula One devotees and interested in historical, the fact that drivers continue to come back to the tracks and in some cases visit a track for the first time, Jean-Pierre Beltois, winner of the 1972 French Grand Prix and a former winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, is on the grounds today for the first time. He came into the Speedway Museum yesterday, and I said, I believe you married the sister of Francois Sever, and he pointed to the lady next to him, and it was her. So Mr. and Mrs. Jean-Pierre Beltois, and Mrs. Beltois being the former Ms. Sever, I guess. They are both watching the Indianapolis 500 for the first time today.
A report from Vince Welch in Ari Leyendijk's pit.
Well, we talked earlier about the fact that Leyendijk had lost first gear, and it was causing his team problems as he was trying to push the car, or they were trying to get the car out of the pits. They would have to push it out of the pit box in second gear. It's also causing a problem on this yellow over in turn 3 because the cars are going so slow, and Ari doesn't have first gear. He's said that it's almost struggled a couple of times to keep it running. But when the car is running, it's handling great, and they feel like if they don't have a problem in the pits because of no first gear, they can win this race.
We're about to go, we think, back to green. We do have Buddy Lazier, however, making a pit stop. And Buzz Calkins as well. Dave Calabro.
Well, Buddy Lazier coming in for what is supposed to be a routine pit stop. Ron Himmelgarn and company standing by. The only thing Lazier is complaining about is that he wants him to go back to green because he's getting too hot in the cockpit. So he's taking on some fuel himself, some water, and they'll take on all 4 tires. Methanol goes in. A quick and clean pit stop at this point. The jacks it down, the car eats away. And Ron Himmelgarn taking a nice look. A decent pit stop. He's comfortable in the car, Ron.
Real good, real good. The car's handling just super now. We had a bad set of tires the first time, and we had to pit early. We're back into sequence. We led some laps, and we're ready to go now.
Ron Himmelgarn, Buddy Lazier looking for his second win in Indianapolis.
He relinquishes the lead, however, to Kenny Breck. Welcome back to the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500. 62 laps completed. Kenny Breck, the leader. Let's go to Chuck Marlowe at the Clarion Medical Center.
Okay, thank you very much, Bob. Sam Schmidt's with me right now. Sam, where were you when all this happened up there?
I was at the front of it. I think I made the first impact. Just had a really good run on a bunch of guys. Things got bottled up in 2 and had a good run going down the back stretch and got up wheel to wheel with Davey. And I thought he saw me. I thought we were just going to run it through side by side. And all of a sudden, the line was gone and I was in the grass and I was headed towards the wall. And it all broke loose. I mean, after I was almost stopped, I think Jim Guthrie hit me pretty hard. And there was nothing but carnage everywhere.
Well, it's good to see you in good shape. a couple of more words here. Billy, how are you, and where were you when this happened?
Oh, I'm just fine. I was just heading down the back straightaway and saw the smoke, and when I got to turn 3, there was just stuff everywhere. I mean, it was incredible.
No place to go.
No place to go, so I just tried to go through the grass, and I thought I was safe going through the grass, and all of a sudden the car just turned around on me, and we hit the inside fence. We probably only hit 60, 70 miles an hour, and I'm fine. I'm just real disappointed for the guys and for Napa, and I'm really glad they were behind us, and hope we'll go to Texas.
Okay, thank you very much, Billy. Stan, I've asked the same question. I guess you were right in the melee too, huh?
Yeah, I was. I was in between Roberto inside going 3. Dismore right in front of me. I was busy watching Roberto to make sure he was watching me, and I'm looking at Mark, and suddenly Mark lets out of it. There's nowhere I could go. I hit the back of Mark, and he let out of it. We're in the middle of a turn. If I slammed on the brakes, I would have been bigger. Oh, Wallace.
So we have heard from 3 of the drivers involved in the incident. The green flag, meanwhile, has come back out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we are back to racing. It is Kenny Brack in the lead. He leads the others off turn number 2 down the backstretch, heading for 3.
Well, much cleaner this time. Single file down this 5/8 mile backstretch into turn 3. Brack with about 6 or 7 car lengths over Cheever, and then it's Scott Sharp as they kick up that oil dry that remains on the north short chute.
Coming through 4, Kenny Brack, the point car in the lead, Eddie Cheever, Scott Sharp, then a distance back to John Paul, Ari Lyondike, and Davey Hamilton.
Let's go to Chuck Marlowe once again, who is talking with our medical director, Dr. Henry Bach. Chuck?
All right, we're out here with Dr. Bach right now. He's waiting to give the official announcement on Jim Guthrie, and we're waiting for television to join us. I think we're set to... We're ready right now. Here's Dr. Bach.
Jim Guthrie's on his way to the Methodist Trauma Center. He was awake and alert and stable when he left here. He complained of some pain in his right arm and a little bit of left leg pain, so we're going to send him down there for further evaluation.
Okay, there's the word from Dr. Henry Buck, so it's good news. He was talking, communicating, and it appears to be a minor injury.
And so that is very good news. Jim Guthrie certainly, at least it appeared to us, took the hardest shot. Well, Eddie Cheever, I thought was going to make a move in 1. Did he, Jerry?
No, he did not, Bob. He looked inside and changed his mind, and Kenny Brack will lead the pack into the number 2 corner over there. Kenny's going to try to get him there and remains in the lead, but you've got 2 right on his tail. Single file through 2, down the back straightaway toward 3.
He takes a look to the inside and tucks back in behind Breck. About 1, 2, 3, 4 car lengths now between those 2 across the north short chute. Then a gap back to 3rd position where Scott Sharp resides.
As they come to 4, Kenny Brack holds the lead down low through 4. Cheever trying to move up on his tail. Might try to make a move in the main straightaway. Then it's Scott Sharp.
And it looks like he's going to stay tucked in behind Kenny. No, he makes a move to the inside.
Here he comes. They're wheel to wheel. Now Kenny Brack will hold him off one more time into the short chute. He'll stay down low. Kenny Brack slides up high. He'll hang on to the lead going into the back straightaway. Once again, single file through 2, but we'll see if the move can be made by Cheever on the backstretch. Gary.
Well, he's tucked in behind him, making no effort to duck to the inside. They'll go single file into the corner, but look at Scott Sharp. He closes in. Look at John Paul. The top 4 nose to tail to turn 4.
Kenny Brack still leads as they head through 4, but Cheever right on his tail, followed by Scott Sharp, and then John Paul, and then Ari Lyondike and Davey Hamilton.
Once again, Cheever has a run on Kenny Brack here on the main straightaway.
Kenny Brack crashed on the parade lap last year, and he's got him. In car 51, that's Eddie Cheever. He takes the lead, and now he is off to the races. He spreads the lead out into the 2nd turn. Eddie Cheever through 2 is stretching it indeed. 7, 8, 9 car lengths now. Cheever obviously has got power as he heads to 3.
A veteran of Formula One and IndyCar racing, won at Orlando a year ago, and there's a battle for 3rd position. John Paul tucks to the inside. John Paul has 3rd position for the Pelfrey Racing Team.
Potato chips, anybody? Rachel's potato chips on the side of Eddie Cheever's car. Easily through 4. Kenny Brack 2nd. John Paul 3rd. Scott Sharp and Ari Lyondike right on his tail, trying to take 4th away.
And there's a battle for 4th position at the line. Ari Lyondike has Scott Sharp.
Boy, Lyondike has really come on strong. He started way back in the pack. He's been running strong, got himself into the top 10 early. Now he has taken over that 3rd position. Lyondike cleanly through 2.
Sharp behind him, as again they are single file headed down the back stretch to Gary Lee.
Could history repeat itself this afternoon? Twice before a driver has started 28th and won this race. In 1911, Ray Haroon. 1936, Louis Meyer. Could Ari Lyondike do it here this afternoon? He's having a great ride.
Well, Eddie Cheever still leads with Kenny Breck second, and then John Paul and Ari Lyondike and Scott Sharp.
This is the second time that Eddie Cheever has led an Indy 500. This is his 9th start. He led 9 laps in 1992. Another couple of housekeeping business chores. Scott Goodyear is back in the race, and Marco Greco, who was involved in that 7-car incident, not seriously, however, is also back in the race. We're very late, but let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. Eddie Cheever leads the Indianapolis 500. As we told you, Scott Goodyear is back in the race. Here's Vince Welch.
Well, they took it back in the garage area and replaced the clutch, took the entire back end apart and put it back together. This really is a team sport. Even though there's just one man behind the wheel, it is a total team effort. Has got Goodyear back on the track. Mark James?
Just finished talking to Owen Snyder. He says Eddie Cheever could not be happier. They have not made any chassis adjustments whatsoever. The tires that they put on have worked very, very well after the pit stops, and Eddie Cheever is poised for a solid finish here this afternoon.
And Billy Boat goes back into the Indianapolis 500.
Attention race fans.
The Indianapolis 500 is 74 laps old, and the leader is Eddie Cheever. But the story right now is second place, John Paul Jr. He passed Kenny Breck just a few moments ago and took second position. Dave Calabro is in John Paul Jr.'s pit.
That's right, 2 veterans battling for the lead right now. John Paul Jr. is moving up to second. He started 16th. These guys say everything is smooth right now, trying to stay out of traffic and keep it clean right now for John Paul Jr., who grew up in Muncie, Indiana.
And he came to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 1998 without a ride. And when Danny Ngayas crashed and suffered a slight concussion, that eliminated him from contention here in the 500. And so the ride was taken over by John Paul Jr., and he has taken it all the way up to second position. He is 1.1 seconds behind the leader, but last lap, the leader, Eddie Cheever, had a 207.101, and John Paul Jr. ran 210.901, and of course probably some of that was attributed to traffic conditions.
And a tip of the hat to Robbie Unser, who just passed Davey Hamilton, and he's now running in 6th place. And a quick note on John Paul Jr., one of the car owners of this number 81 went to the same high school as John Paul Jr., and they knew each other as teenagers.
Stephen Gregoire also doing a good job. He's up to 8th position from 31st. Mark James is right there.
Poised for another top 10 finish. He started in 31st position, as you said, Bob, and Darrell Soppy said they have been trying to get some adjustments made with the handling, with the chassis, trying to get it to come together. They think it has come together, and once it has, if he's moved up that much from 31st, we can only imagine what kind of run he's poised for to the end.
Stephen Gregoire, living here in Indianapolis now, but he has certainly had a good performance in the Indy 500 so far. We see some pit stops being made. Meanwhile, looks like one of the best battles on the track may be Ari Lyondike as he closes in on Kenny Breck. But first, let's go to Vince Welch.
Well, Davey, you mentioned Davey Hamilton just getting passed by Unser. He's got a bad set of tires, possibly because he's experiencing some vibration. So keep an eye on Davey Hamilton. If he starts going to the back, that'll confirm that suspicion. Also, look for Ari Lyondike, who's made his way all the way up to 4th from a 28th starting position to be looking for the pits in the next 5 to 10 laps.
And we're watching the field as it comes around corner number 4. John Paul Jr. closing in on Eddie Cheever, and there's just as good a battle for that 3rd position as Lyondike closes in on Kenny Breck in turn 1.
Yeah, he won't get him though, Bob. He did make a little move up that direction. Now he'll settle back and now set the sights on the short shoot up here. Kenny's he going to get him in the second turn over there?
Not through turn 2, but he might try and set him up again. He came very close on the backstretch last time around. Headed to you, Gary.
Well, they're all stacked up behind Jack Hewitt as they enter the turn to the inside. There goes your leader to put Jack a lap down. Then about 10 to 15 car lengths back to John Paul. John Paul sneaks by. Whoa, they
almost get together in turn 4.
But John Paul got around him in the slower traffic as Hewitt. Kenny Breck moving past him with Lyondike ready to make the next move.
I think Jack Hewitt is simply trying to get out of the way, but in doing so, he went very high on the racetrack and almost hit the wall, but now he's being passed in the straightaway as they continue to run in the same order. Eddie Cheever with a 1-second lead over John Paul Jr., then Kenny Breck. Fourth place is Ari Lyondike. Fifth position belongs to Robbie Unser. In sixth position is Davey Hamilton. Seventh is Scott Sharp. And in a couple of more laps, we understand John Paul Jr. is going to need a pit stop. 79 completed at Indy. The Indianapolis 500 is 83 laps old. A great battle up front. We had the first 4 cars running within 2 seconds of each other. Eddie Cheever is leading, but by only about a half second over John Paul Jr. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. We're down here in the pits here with Rocky Moselle, the International Star Registry. Here we're working with Buzz Calkins. He's in 13th place. Tell us about the registry.
Could you repeat that, please?
I say, tell us about the Star Registry.
The International Star Registry's Day. You name an actual star after someone. What you receive when you name a star is a 12x16 4-color parchment crystallized in calligraphy, a large sky chart that shows exactly where the star is in the sky, telescopic coordinates so you can pinpoint the star with a low-power telescope, a booklet that tells about the stars, and then we publish it and register it in the U.S. Copyright Office.
Well, did you have any trouble getting 33 names?
I had no trouble getting 33 names, and there's about 18 million more stars out there to be named.
Well, thanks a lot. Continue good luck to you and your drivers like Calvin.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Well, there's a lot of noise out there. Let's go to Dave Calabro.
Well, John Paul Jr. decided to come in on the pits. He's having a ride of a lifetime riding in second place. Came in for 4 tires and fuel. A flawless pit stop. He's back on track waiting to see what Cheever, the leader, will do.
And Eddie Cheever is on pit road. Mark James, he's headed toward you.
Eddie Cheever's crew chief standing with an arm out. The car is in. The jack is up. No adjustments to the wing whatsoever. You heard Owen Snyder just a few minutes ago. He told us that Eddie has been running very, very smoothly so far. Stickered tires on, waiting for the fuel hose to be disconnected. Eddie Cheever stalls the car. Oh, they didn't quite get the fuel hose unfastened. Eddie has to back up. They pull the car back. He's revving it up. Now he's underway. A little glitch on the pit stop for Eddie Cheever. Couldn't get the fuel hose disconnected.
So a little bit of a glitch there for the driver who has led several laps here this afternoon and now roars back into competition. We're seeing other green flag pit stops being made. Ari Lyondike drops off the 4th corner and into the pit area, and so does Robbie Unser. We're watching Ari Lyondike come down. It's again been an up and down day for Ari also, but he was in second position as he relinquishes it to come in for the pit stop. Donald Davidson?
Ari, in fact, led 1 lap there, Bob, just before he came in.
Let's go to Vince Welch.
Ari Lyondike is in and on the jack. Obviously, they're replacing the tires. Ari takes a drink of water, wipes off the visor, and he's now down off the jack. Remember, he does not have first gear, so they got to push him away in second gear. Let's see if they can get him rolling. He is off and away, so Ari Lyondike is out of the pits cleanly.
Andy Michener has made a pit stop. Robbie Unser moving back out onto the racetrack. The lead is held by Kenny Breck as he just flashed by us but has not yet made his pit stop. Davey Hamilton is the next to come in as we see Davey coming down in front of us. His pit is down toward the south end of the racetrack where Vince Welch can see what's going on.
Waiting on Davey Hamilton and the Power Team Racing machine to come rolling into his pit box. It's been a good afternoon for Hamilton. He's leading this race, obviously. Or Kenny Breck, rather. I'm sorry, Kenny Breck. His crew waiting patiently. We'll throw it back to you and get it when Breck comes in.
Turn 3, Gary Lee.
When you talk about Kenny Breck, he is headed for the pit lane, but he's not on the racetrack. He's on that inside warm-up lane. That would indicate to me there's a problem in the number 14 Power Team entry.
Bob Lamy in turn 4. Can you see him?
Yes, Kenny Breck is slowing very, very slow coming off the the warm-up lane in turn 4, headed for the pits. Just moments before Marco Greco made the same move.
Breck trying to get some power in that power team car, number 14. It seems to be picking up just a bit as he heads toward the entrance of the pits here at the north end of the track.
Johnny Rutherford, of course, the first thing you think of is fuel.
Well, yes, and that would be sad if they stretched it just a little bit, and he did. He ran a little bit longer than the other guys, so you wonder if that wasn't the case, he had run out of fuel.
He is making his way slowly down pit road. Dave Calabro.
We're in the pit of Stefan Gregoire, who comes in. He's currently running right there in 7th position, started 31st. Said he's having a little bit of handling problems with this car. They're making a few minor adjustments to this machine and taking on 4 tires and a full load of fuel. And Stefan Gregoire looking for another top 10 finish and maybe even more here today, Bob.
Stefan accelerates down the pit area. Meanwhile, Kenny Breck has still not arrived in his assigned stall. It's a very, very slow movement that we see down to the very south end of the racetrack. Kenny Breck finally arrives. Vince.
Well, they're finally pushing him in, and as Millar now comes to a stop, Breck wears glasses. One of the few race drivers you'll see wearing glasses. They're special glasses so they don't fog up in the heat of the racetrack, and they're feverishly working now. They get the car up. They had trouble getting the car up on the jack, and now it's up and rolling. They're changing tires, adding fuel. Kenny Breck has just stalled the car, and now we've got a problem. Breck is taking the glass off. Now they're going to try to fire it up again. But this is obviously a very long and problematic stop for Kenny Breck. The car is still not fired. They're trying to get it fired up. They've got the starter plugged into the back. It just will not turn over. There it goes. Finally, Kenny Breck gets it, and he pulls away. But a very tough stop for Kenny Breck, who started on the outside of row 1. He led this race for much of it, but is now slipped all the way down the pole.
Well, with these pit stops, the lead goes back to Buddy Lazier. He has about a 15-second advantage on Eddie Cheever. There are now 7 cars on the lead lap. When Buddy Lazier came down in front of us last lap, he put a lap on Steve Knapp. 7 cars on the lead lap, 90 laps completed. Here's Howdy with the 75-lap rundown.
And this 75-lap update sponsored by Kroger, the official food and drug store of the Indianapolis 500. Count on Kroger. First is 51 Eddie Cheever. Second, 81 John Paul. Third, 14 Breck. Fourth, 5 Lyondike. Fifth, 8 Sharp. 6, 52 Robbie Unser. 7, 6 Hamilton. 8, 77 Gregoire. 9th, 55 Dapp. 10th, 91 Lazier. 11, 17 Michener. 12th, 9 Unser. 13th, 12 Calkins. They're all in the same lap. 14th, 44 Yaley. 15th, 18 Hewitt. 16th, 7 Kite. 17th, 35 Ward. 18th, 10 Roth. 19th, 16 Greco. 20th, 97 Ray. 21st, 40 Miller. 22nd, 11 Boat. 23rd, 21 Guerrero. 24th, 99 Sam Schmidt, but he's out of the race. 25th, 28 Dismore. 26th, 19 Waddles. 27th, Guthrie out of the race. 28th, Rowe out of the race. And 29th, Buell out of the race. But 30th, Raul Boisel, who's running. 31st, Scott Goodyear, who is running. 32nd, Beechler, and 33rd, Stewart out of the race. At 75 laps, the average speed, 123.957 miles per hour.
That was at the end of 75 laps. 92 are now in the books. And again, Buddy Lazier is now the leader with Eddie Cheever 15.2 seconds behind. John Paul Jr. is third. Fourth is Davey Hamilton. And fifth is number 52, Robbie Unser. We'd like to welcome the following stations to our Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. WBT in Charlotte, North Carolina. WKXL in Concord, New Hampshire. KRLV in Las Vegas, and KRDO in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Welcome to our live coverage of the Indianapolis 500. Well, Buddy Lazier made a pit stop, and the yellow flag is out. The yellow flag comes out. Anybody see anything? Gary Lee, turn 3.
It would be for Jimmy Kite, the rookie, the 22-year-old from Stockbridge, Georgia, has coasted to a stop on this warm-up lane down along the north short chute.
So nothing real serious.
No, it could be either out of fuel or something else.
You know, Bob, we're coming up on the time that I like to tell the rookies about. Halfway. They've been out there hammering along in these cars, running faster than they've ever gone before, and they come down the straightaway thinking this thing's got to be getting pretty close to over, and the flagman leans over the rail and holds cross the flag saying it's only halfway, and then they've got to rethink the whole thing.
Gary Lee?
Well, of course, Jimmy Kite's had a tough month. He's had 3 crashes before he qualified a backup car. And I talked to his mom, Donna, on Thursday during carburation. She said, his dad, Gary, had to go back to Georgia on some business. She said, I have never been so nervous in my life. And I said, wait till Sunday. So I'm wondering how she's faring now.
Well, again, Buddy Lazier relinquished the lead when he came in for a pit stop. So the leader currently, again, is Eddie Cheever with John Paul Jr. running second. Now, when Lazier came in, that put Steve Knapp back on the lead lap. And so there are 7 cars that are currently on the leader lap. Dave Calabro saw that pit stop by Buddy Lazier.
You know, it's the luck of the draw with these pit stops. Buddy Lazier came in when the track was still green. They just had a yellow. Would have been a great opportunity to come in under those conditions for the pit stop. But Buddy Lazier says he's strapped to a rocket ship right now. He's ready to go. They took on full fuel. He asked for a little bit more wing in the car. He wants a little bit more downforce in the turns. So Buddy Lazier seems to be poised and ready to go for another run here, guys.
Well, he won 3 years ago, and we'll see what happens today. Mark James is up at the north end of the pits.
We told you there was a problem. Eddie Cheever started to pull away before the fuel hose had been disconnected. Now they changed the connector running from the hose to the car. There's some concern as to whether or not that Buckeye was damaged where the fuel actually goes into the car. They're also not sure they got a full load in. So the crew is preparing right now for Eddie to make another stop, and they're going to put 4 fresh tires on as well. So some interesting strategy here as we near the halfway point with your leader, Eddie Cheever.
Indeed, 97 laps are in the book, so we are nearing the halfway point. Jimmy Kite's car has arrived here in his pit, which is right down below us here in the Master Control Tower at Indianapolis. Lazier's victory came in 1996, the first year of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League, and right now he is currently in the 7th position, the last car on the lead lap. Under caution because of the tow-in for Jimmy Kite. Several awards were presented yesterday here at the Speedway. Among those handed out, the Scott Brayton Drivers Trophy went to Roberto Guerrero. The True Value Pole-Winning Chief Mechanic Award to Craig Baranowski from A.J. Foyt Racing, and the Clint Bronner Mechanical Excellence Award went to Brad McCandless of Team Scandia. Here's Chrissy Konamaki.
Well, we just checked on some of the fuel tanks here. They have graphs and charts about how far a car can go on a tank full of methanol, and it looks like 26 laps, 26 green flag laps is what they look for here. Johnny Rutherford up there maybe can put on his calculator helmet and tell us what this means now with this yellow flag and everybody stocking up. How many fuel stops will be needed to complete this race? Because at the end, how quick one is in the pits could make a big difference here.
Mark James is watching Eddie Cheever's pit stop.
And it's smooth stuff so far. Sticker tires going on, and this time they're taking a bit more time with the fuel. A slap of the leg on the fuel to let them know the tires have been complete. This time a much smoother stop. No problem with getting fuel or tires with the car. 12.86 seconds for Eddie Cheever.
And he, of course, loses a lot of track position, Johnny, but that thing has also been a rocket ship on the racetrack.
Well, it really has, and Eddie is, he's been around here before. He knows what this place is all about, so he's calculating, and just like Chris says, they're going to be figuring the fuel to the end, see who can make one less stop or make theirs the best and be out and have a shot at victory here.
John Paul Jr. is the leader of the Indianapolis 500 for the first time in his career. Donald Davidson?
You just took my line away.
Sorry,
but I think that's going to be about the story of the race, and we can quickly look at the rookies here. Robbie Unser is now up to 3rd because of the Eddie Cheever pit stop, and by the way, he's driving for Eddie Cheever, so that team is having a magnificent day. The next rookie down is Steve Knapp is in 7th place, and then we have to go to 12th place is Andy Michener. J.J. Yaley is 14th. Jack Hewitt is 15th. And Jimmy Kite just got back in the race at 17th. And I think that's the only rookies that are still running because we have Stan Waddles and Donnie Beechler are both out of the race. But Robbie Unser just doing a phenomenal job today.
It's going to be nice to welcome John Paul Jr. into the Leaders Circle Club. Anybody that's ever led the race here gets a nice blazer to wear and honored. So it's going to be fun.
Very deserving honor. Here's the green flag. We are back to racing at Indianapolis. And the field rather spread out at this point, although we see some positions being fought for as they go down into one, and a car smoking, Jerry.
Yes, it is car number 9. That's the car of Johnny Unser. And as soon as it came across the start-finish line, the puff of smoke out of the back of the car. It's in the short chute pulling down to the inside, right in front of Ken Double right now.
Indeed, flowing into the actually pit exit lane through 2. Everybody got around him smoothly, and we see the pack headed down the backstretch to turn 3.
Well, actually, the leaders now are over on the front straightaway.
Yes, here on the front straightaway, John Paul Jr. comes by. He is 2.1 seconds ahead of Scott Sharp as crossed flags are being displayed. We are halfway through this year's running of the Indianapolis 500. 3 wide here in front of me as Eddie Cheever tries to move up through the slower traffic, Jerry.
Well, it's been that way all day, Bob. Cheever's really strong, but they've been running 3 wide, but coming right into the mouth of number 1. I don't think they can do that a whole lot longer, man. It's scary down here.
That's Lazier and Cheever side by side momentarily. They stretch it back out. Lazier just ahead of Cheever as that bunch heads toward 3.
You know, I'm not supposed to play favorites, but I am so happy for John Paul Jr. I've said publicly on television and on radio, if I own one of these race cars, I'd hire him to drive it. His best finish was a 10th back in 92. Wouldn't this be a great victory for the guy that grew up in Muncie, Indiana?
Indeed it would. Dave Calabro is in John Paul Jr.'s pit.
Well, I tell you what, every time John Paul Jr. comes back around to the yard of bricks, the team Pelfrey pumping those fists in the air. They say the car is just fine. No problems at this point. Now, keep in mind, just a couple of weeks ago, as you guys mentioned, John Paul Jr. did not have a ride. In fact, he was talking about holding out and waiting to the last minute and getting in a Team Menard car. My, how things have changed for John Paul Jr.
Yes, indeed. Mark James has a report from the north end of the pit.
This Hemmelgarn crew, the portion of it in charge of Johnny Unser's efforts, very frustrated. They felt for sure they had a top 10 finish. No problems with this car whatsoever. And suddenly Johnny said the motor just let go. So Johnny Unser stays over. Let's go to Fitzwell.
Down in the Davey Hamilton pit, they're not only concerned about Hamilton on the track, but also Tim McCree, the gas man. He overheated here in the pit area, so they've got a fan blowing on him. They put some ice on him. They poured some water on him. He had to go sit down because just simply overheated here wearing the helmet and so forth. It's been a tough month for this Nienhouse Motorsports team. Bob Nienhouse has been very sick with bacterial pneumonia, lost 45 pounds. This is the first race all season that he's been at. He almost died, so he really is thankful to be here today. And then you look up on the board and he sees his man running second, Davey Hamilton.
Indeed, and the weather has turned very warm here in Indianapolis after a rainy start. Skies now partly cloudy, and it's quite warm and humid at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as John Paul Jr. leads the race by 5 seconds over Scott Sharp at the 103 lap mark. This is the 82nd Indianapolis 500 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Bob Jenkins, and we are 106 laps into this race. John Paul Jr. has the lead by 5.2 seconds over Davey Hamilton, not Scott Sharp, as I said a few minutes ago. Scott Sharp is between John Paul Jr. and Davey Hamilton, but he is a lap down in 8th position. We have had 9 leaders today, 13 lead changes, 6 cautions for a total of 34 laps. Howdy Bell has the 250-mile rundown.
At 100 laps, first is 81 Paul, second 6 Hamilton, third 52 Robbie Unser, fourth 5 Lyondike, fifth 91 Lazier, sixth 51 Cheever, and seventh 55 Knapp. They are all on the lead lap. 8th, 8 Sharp, 9th, 77 Gregoire, 10th, 12 Hawkins, 11th, 17 Michener. They're 1 lap down. In 12th, 9 Johnny Unser, 13th, 14 Brack, 14th, 44 Yaley, 15th, 18 Hewitt, 16th, 35 Ward, 17th, 7 Kite, 18th, 16 Greco, 19th, 10 Groff, 20th, 97 Ray, 21st, 11 Boat, 22nd, 40 Miller, 23rd, 30 Boiselle, 24th, 4 Goodyear, 25th, 21 Guerrero. The remaining drivers out of the race in order: Sam Schmidt, Dismore, Waddles, Guthrie, Rowe, Buell, Beechler, and Stewart. The average speed 133.170 miles per hour at 100 laps.
And through the first half of the race, one major crash that involved 7 cars. However, all drivers are apparently okay, although Jim Guthrie has been taken to Methodist Hospital just for observation. He was conscious, awake, and alert when taken to the hospital. Others involved in the incident: Roberto Guerrero, Stan Waddles, Mark Dismore, Sam Schmidt, Marco Greco, and Billy Rowe. Vince Welsh has a report from the pit area.
Well, you know, we've been keeping an eye on Ari Lyondike. Remember, he doesn't have first gear, so they have to push him out of the pits in second. Well, now 6th gear is not working that well either, so he's keeping the car in 5th gear because it's running much better there.
but he's been on the rev limiter a lot, staying in fifth gear. So Ari's got to be very careful about getting in a draft, picking up the extra speed in that fifth gear with it being on the rev limiter, because he's got to protect the motor. So Ari Leyendijk doing a lot of driving out there on the course today.
He is currently in fourth position and is the best G-force on the racetrack. In fifth spot now, moving up one position. Last lap was Eddie Cheever. Remember, he made a late pit stop during the most recent caution and dropped back to the tail end of those who were on the lead lap. He is back up to fifth position now, but Johnny Rutherford, I think perhaps in addition, well, everybody, of course, is having a very impressive run, but you got to take your hat off to Robbie Unser running in third position. Maybe this Unser winning on the 24th is going to hold true again.
Well, we might well see that, but he's running a real heady, steady race, and I think a lot should be said for him. He's one of our rookies, and he's looked good the whole time. In April, when we had the rookie orientation here, he was right on with his test, and nothing out of the ordinary as far as what we needed to look at for him. He was very good, and I am not surprised he's there.
We anticipate pit stops at about 2 more laps. Let's go quickly to Chris Economaki.
Well, we're talking about Robbie Unser being up there in third place. If he stays where he's doing, you know, he's a hill climb experienced guy. And if auto racing had any parallel with horse racing, and Robbie stays up there, his father, Bobby, is going to have to sharply revise the fees, his stud fees on his race car.
Indeed, he is some 10 seconds now behind the leader, John Paul Jr., but John Paul Jr. should be due for a pit stop here very, very shortly. We're, of course, watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League point standings as we go through the race. We see here on the straightaway that John Paul Jr. went by. As a matter of fact, he passed 2 slower cars right here in front of us. Tony Stewart, the point leader going into this event, is out of the race. Ward is in 15th position, Sharp 8th, Gregoire 10th, and Schmidt is also out. If drivers were to hold their current positions right now, Scott Sharp would tie Tony Stewart for the pit's point lead after Indianapolis. But we got a lot of racing to go. We want to stay here as long as we can to watch John Paul Jr. and see if he indeed does come in for a pit stop. We're watching him come off the corner and down the straightaway, but makes no effort to come into the pits, so he's obviously going to go another lap before coming in. Robbie Unser, however, is coming in for a pit stop as we look at the north end. Mark James, he's arriving toward you.
3-time winner, Dad Bobby looking on. Crew telling him, slow it down, making sure they watch that pit speed. He rolls to a stop. The crew jumps over the wall. The fueler is connected. Stickered Goodyear is going on. Robbie Unser running as high as third in his first Indy 500. Smooth stop down and away at about 14.72. A good stop for Team Cheever's Robbie Unser.
John Paul Jr. is indeed coming down pit road. Dave Calabro is there to watch the pit stop.
He's coming into the pit with about a 4-second lead, and he's going to roll to a stop. The crew is on. They tell me everything is just fine with the car. Nothing will be done to the car except routine maintenance, changing tires, taking on fuel. They had intended to stop a lap earlier. They decided to stretch it out a little bit, and it worked. So John Paul Jr. now in the pits and back off the jack and away, and a high five for the crew as they get her out in a hurry.
15.4 second pit stop, turn 2, and Ken Double.
We saw Buzz Calkins do some heady driving. He obviously had a problem with the car in the south chute, and he just ducked it into the pit lane and kept it through to inside slowly on the backstretch. He's probably headed into the pits by now, but Calkins did a good job to get his car out of the way and let the traffic get around, but problems for car number 12, Buzz Calkins.
With the John Paul Jr. pit stop, the leader of the Indy 500 is Davey Hamilton now. But again, we are in the window where pit stops are necessary. We have been under green now for quite some time. This is the first time for Davey Hamilton in his third start. First time for a lead. His best finish was 6th in 1997. He is the 10th leader that we have had in the Indianapolis 500 so far today, with 115 laps completed. We see Scott Goodyear moving down pit road in the Pennzoil Panther racing machine. He is currently listed in 24th position. He was one of those that went back to the garage area and made some adjustments to the car and then came back out and rejoined the race. Greg Ray is coming down pit road. Greg was certainly a factor in the early going. However, he too had some mechanical problems that put him back into the garage area for a while. He's currently listed in 20th position and receiving a pit stop. So Davey Hamilton now has a 2.2 second advantage over Arie Luyendyk, and both of our former winners in this Indy 500. Arie Luyendyk is second and Buddy Lazier fourth. We see both first and second coming down for pit stops. Both Davey Hamilton and Arie Luyendyk are on pit road. Here comes Davey Hamilton. He's headed toward the south end, and right behind him is Arie Luyendyk. Here's Vince Welch.
Davey Hamilton pulls his G-Force Aurora into the pit box. They changed the Goodyears on all four corners. Fluorescent orange colors of Reebok with navy blue and silver trim. Hamilton, they will make no changes to the car. It has run fine. They just changed the wheels and fuel and out and away in under 14 seconds. A smooth stop for Davey Hamilton.
And he gets out ahead of Arie Luyendyk, who had just about the same amount of time on pit road. So now the lead goes to Eddie Cheever at the 117 lap mark. Back in Indianapolis, with a caution flag has just winked on. It's in turn 2. Ken?
Well, we didn't see a puff of smoke. We didn't see any problem. Dr. Jack Miller's Crest Racing Special number 40 just stopped, and he slowly got it comfortably into the pit lane out of harm's way and finally brought it to a halt right in the middle of the backstretch on the inside of the track, and again, away from any traffic, no problem, and again, no visible sign of a problem. It just quit on him.
Dr. Jack Miller driving the Infinity Indy engine here at the Indianapolis 500. Let's go to Chuck Marlowe back in the garage area.
Well, Johnny, it's unfortunate that I have to talk to you the first time after running so well and then have something spoil it, such as happened. What did happen?
Oh, I think we lost the motor. I don't really know, just shuddered going into one, and that was it. The car was working good. Everybody was doing a heck of a job, and we were right where we wanted to be, and it's a shame. But, it's the Indy 500, not the Indy 200, and hopefully next time we'll be there for 500.
Well, the name Unser has been so synonymous with racing for such a long time. To see you as running as strong as you were and as fresh as you were was really vital to all of us who have followed you.
Yeah, it was neat, and it was neat to be running out there with Robbie for a while, and it was Indy is an awesome place, and I can't wait to come back because we'll get her done one of these days.
Well, Robbie's running 7th right now.
He's doing a great job. I hope he keeps it up.
Okay, Johnny, thank you very, very much.
Johnny Unser out of this year's Indianapolis 500, but his cousin is doing very well in 7th position. Back to turn 2, Ken Double.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't believe, again, that it was Dr. Jack's car, but they have brought out a couple of sweepers and are moving a couple of pieces of safety equipment with the sweeping devices on the front to clean up a little debris on the racetrack as well during this cautionary period. This all happening in turn 2.
We are having pit stops while this caution is on here at Indianapolis. We see Eddie Cheever moving down pit road with about 5 other cars behind him. Mark Janes.
Waiting on the run of rookie Steve Knapp, and what a solid run it has been. No change of the left front tire. That's the only one that is not going to be changed. A full load of fuel. Steve has been running in the top 10 for about the last 30, 40 some odd laps. And the crew sees it come down off the jack smoothly away, about 14.9 seconds for Steve Knapp. Let's go to Dave Calabro. And Buddy Lazier quickly in and out of the pits. He took on 4 tires. No adjustments made to that purple machine. His wife Kara cheering, and Ron Hemmelgarn also cheering. Is this team back on sequence? Compliments of the yellow, Bob Jenkins.
Everybody out of the pits now, and The caution still remaining on. Dr. Jack Miller's car is behind a tow truck, and it is entering the north end of the pit area. So, time for us to take a little bit of a breather here. The number 91 car of Buddy Lazier is now shown as the leader, with John Paul Jr. running second. Third place is Davey Hamilton. Fourth, Ari Lyondike. And fifth is Robbie Unser. I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome back to our live broadcast of the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500, which is 124 laps old. Buddy Lazier had the lead, made a pit stop. That puts John Paul Jr. at the point once again, with Davey Hamilton running in second spot. This most recent caution was brought about by Jack Miller's stalled car in the backstretch. Here we go to Vince Welsh in the pit area.
Well, how quickly things change. This morning we thought maybe we would be rained out when the clouds were dark and gray. It was very cool. How quickly things change. The skies are now mostly blue, and the heat is really causing some problems down in the pit area. Some of the crew members are starting to overheat a bit, so you're seeing a lot of people with water poured on the top of them, and they're really replenishing the fluids now as the race heats up. It also heats up on the backside of the wall as well. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
I was just down at Dr. Jack Miller's pit, the world's fastest dentist. He had trouble with an exhaust header that in turn affected the car's alternator and eliminated the electrical supply to the engine. Now he's in the pits, and the crew chief just told me we're going to keep feeding it batteries for the rest of the day. Every time he makes a pit stop, they're going to put a fresh battery in so the car keeps going. Back to you.
Field coming down here and receiving the 1 to go signal. We have several cars running in front of the leader, John Paul Jr. So it will be interesting to see what happens when we go back to green, and if he can easily pass by those 7 cars that are lined up ahead of him. Bright sunshine now, JR, looking pretty good as we had that report from the pit area. And
yes, it is, and it's a time of race when you've got to be heads up. You've got a restart coming up. Guys are going to be trying to make moves. New guys are a little tired, and you have to pay attention. So it's going to be interesting from this point, and we need to figure some pit stops and probably fuel mileage and some things. And it's a critical time.
There are 7 cars on the lead lap, and we understand that we will not be going back to green next time around. Ken Double, is there a problem out in your area?
Right in front of the turn 2 suites, we still have one final emergency vehicle sweeping up a little bit of debris off the track, and now it appears that vehicle moving away, starting to make its way off the race course. So apparently perhaps one more go around, although again, that vehicle, yes, moving its way down the race course toward turn 3. So a little further delay before we go green, but that vehicle has done its job in front of the turn 2 suites.
Here's Vince Welch.
Well, when we're yellow, it gives the teams and the drivers a little bit of a time to relax, so there's often a little more communication over the radio. Davey Hamilton's crew, Nienhouse Motorsports, communicated to Davey Hamilton, who's currently sitting in second place here. Davey, hang tight. You can win this thing. You are in a great position. Also, Ari Lyondike communicating on his radio, complaining about a particular driver out on the course that's not getting out of the way, despite the fact that he's several laps down. Ari's having trouble getting around him in traffic. So interesting stories developing on the radio as the teams communicate.
The track temperature, 116 degrees. When we started this thing, JR, it was 77, so we've had quite a bit of a heat up here.
Yes, definitely a test.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. We are a half a lap from going back to green. Donald?
Bob, another thing that's giving some drivers an assist this year that they didn't used to have, and that is that when a car has a problem out and stops out on the track, a vehicle will come along and the driver's given a rope, and they are towed not only back to the pits, but actually they're towed all the way down so they can let go of the ropes just before they get to their pit. For many, many years, they used to deposit them at the north end of the pit, and the crew had to run down and get them. Now it's a lot easier for the crews as well as the drivers.
Field in turn number 3, headed toward the green flag and the resumption of the Indianapolis 500. The green will come out on lap 128. Now we see the 7 cars ahead of our leader, John Paul Jr., beginning to accelerate. In corner number 4, the pace car is on pit road, and indeed the green flag is out. We are back to racing at Indianapolis, and here they come. We'll watch for John Paul Jr. He's in heavy traffic. So is Davey Hamilton as he moves down toward turn number 1.
Well, there goes John Paul Jr. right there. Then Hamilton, now Murray Landyke, Robbie Unser's in line. Still those back markers. The Cats are in the second turn.
And that earlier group single file through. Ari Landyke is trying to duck inside one car that he's trying to dodge and get back among the leaders, but everybody cleanly through 2.
And we're waiting for the leader to come by our vantage point, the 81 car. There he is, still with a number of lap cars out in front, so he has to be very careful in picking his way through the slower traffic.
And as they come through 4, John Paul did pick off a car or 2. Is moving up. Davey Hamilton caught in traffic. He's well back at the moment.
Down here on the main straightaway, Davey Hamilton went through the corner side by side with another driver, but everything works out all right. It would appear as if the best battle on the racetrack is going to be shaping up between Davey Hamilton and Ari Landyke running in second and third, Johnny.
Yes, the first car in front of our leader is Scott Goodyear, and Scott Goodyear spent a lot of time in the pits, is many laps down, but his car is flying. He's really fast. So it will be interesting to see if John Paul can move up and handle him.
We'll watch the racetrack as Howdy Bell reads us the 125 lap rundown.
At 125 laps, in first position, 81 Paul, second, 6 Hamilton, third, 5 Landyke, fourth, 52 Robbie Unser, fifth, 51 Cheever, sixth, 55 Knapp, seventh, 91 Lazier. They're all on the lead lap. In 8th, it's car 8, Scott Sharp. He's 1 lap behind. And then 2 lap behind in 9th, 77 Gregoire, 10th, 14 Brack, 11th, 12 Calkins, 12, 18 Hewitt, 13th, 44 Yaley. Farther on back in 14th, 35 Ward, 15 is 17 Michener, 16th, 7 Kite, 17th, 16 Marco, 18th, 10 Groff, 19th, 97 Ray, 20th, 11 Boat, 21st, 9 Johnny Unser, who is out of the race, 22nd, 40 Miller, 23rd, 30 Boiselle, 24th, 4 Goodyear, 25th, 21 Guerrero. Out of the race, Schmidt, Dismore, Waddles, Guthrie, Rowe, Buell, Beechler, and Stewart. The average speed 138.949 miles an hour at lap 125.
Ari Landyke has moved to second with a tremendous move in turn 3. Gary, explain it to us.
Well, it was a classic move you're taught in driving school. Just outmaneuver the guy in the corner, get under him, and go on by, and that's what he did. So that moves Ari to second, moves Davey Hamilton back to third.
But the lead continues to be held by John Paul Jr., and it is 3.7 seconds as the field once again is in the backstretch. Dr. Jack Miller still having problems on the racetrack. He was very slow taking that lap around, but he has arrived now here in his pit area. Vince Welch has a report from Ari Landyke's pit. Ari, now the runner-up.
Well, you mentioned he's moved up into second place, but we're continuing to follow the story. Remember, we told you the car runs best in 5th gear, so he's on that rev limiter a little strong. They were just warning him on the radio, be very careful. You're getting too aggressive on the rev limiter. So let's go to Dave Calabro, and we'll keep an eye on Ari.
And I'm here with the leader, John Paul Jr., as the yellow flag comes out on the race course. John Paul Jr. says he has no complaints right now. A car really likes that clean air. The reason we have the yellow right now, Billy Boat's car has stalled once again on the track. So it's been interesting to watch the emotions of this Team Pelfrey. When John Paul Jr. first took the lead, they were up screaming and jumping and cheering. Now they've settled into a more business-like atmosphere down here. Everybody huddled around the computers and the monitors, keeping an eye on that 81 car. Let's go back to Vince Welch.
Well, we understand that Billy Boat has a problem in the drive line, so he's come to a stop again, and A.J. Foyt just shook his head. It's been a very frustrating day. Boat and Breck, his 2 cars, were both running very strong early, but they've had nothing but problems ever since.
So both of A.J. Foyt's drivers appear to be out of contention. Certainly Kenny Breck and Billy Boat are neither one going to win today. A.J. Foyt never won from the front row in spite of the fact that he started there 8 times. Both of his cars here in the 500 day started from the front row, with Boat on the pole and Kenny Breck starting from outside row 1. Back at Indianapolis, caution continues to wave. It's for originally Billy Boat stalled car in the backstretch, but then during the caution, Jeff Ward lost a right rear. Here's Mark.
Doesn't appear to be any suspension damage as he was able to pilot that thing down pit road on 3 wheels. He obviously couldn't get it into the pit stall. He went one spot past that. The crew got it on the lift, pulled it back. They looked at the right side. Didn't appear to be any damage again, so they put 4 fresh tires on it, topped off the fuel. A pit stop of about 1:20, but Jeff Ward is back underway, and we'll have to see, though, if indeed there was some damage that was not visible to the eye of the crew. But Jeff Ward is back underway.
Field being given the 1 more to go signal before we go green. The leader of the race is John Paul Jr. There are 7 cars in the lead lap. Here's who they are. It is John Paul Jr., Ari Leyendijk, then Eddie Cheever. 4th is Davey Hamilton. 5th is Steve Knapp. 6th is Buddy Lazier. And 7th is Robbie Unser. Dave Calabro.
We're with Don Basallo, the chief mechanic for John Paul Jr. He's on the radio with John right now as we prepare to go green. Everything working fine right now?
Everything's good. We're getting ready to go green. I got to call him off the corner here.
We're going to watch him off the corner here as this team goes back to work.
We have seen some very interesting stories here in this Indy 500. The leader of the race, as we have mentioned before, didn't have a ride when he came here. We saw Ari Leyendijk with early problems. He's running 2nd. Eddie Cheever had problems on the first lap. He's running 3rd. In 4th position is Davey Hamilton. Things have gone relatively well for him today. And you certainly again have to mention Steve Knapp, the highest rookie at this point, who is currently in 5th position. Quickly to turn 3 in Gary Lee.
You know, if my memory serves me properly, the last time they brought in a substitute driver for Danny Ungaius after an injury, he won this thing. That was Big Al in '87.
You're absolutely right. So John Paul may be repeating history here this afternoon. We get set for the restart. There are 2 cars between the leader and 2nd place. We watch them come off the corner. The pace car is safely on pit road, and the green is waving as they are 3 abreast coming down the straightaway. But John Paul Jr. has everything to his liking, and he goes into turn 1.
Go 3 wide and change their mind very wisely. So Ari Leyendijk tries to pull up on the bumper of John Paul. Can't get it done. Real mess going into number 2 over there.
Single file through 2, as again Ari Leyendijk could not make a pass and get past any of that traffic, trying to chase down John Paul, headed to 3.
Well, before that yellow, John Paul had traffic to concern himself with. Not so now, as now the guys in pursuit have a clear racetrack and a clear shot of the leader.
Yeah, we've got coming into turn number 4. The leader is John Paul. Then it's Ari Leyendijk and Eddie Cheever, followed by Roberto Guerrero, and then Davey Hamilton. They're all strung out and running clean.
However, Ari Leyendijk and Eddie Cheever now have separated themselves from the traffic, and they are right behind the leader of the race, and they're separated, all 3 separated by less than 2 seconds. They move out of turn number 2 and head down the back stretch as both Ari Leyendijk and Eddie Cheever give chase to the leader of the race, John Paul Jr. They're headed toward 3.
Still a sizable margin, though, for the leader. The closest right now is between 2nd and 3rd, as we see Scott Goodyear is back in that warm-up lane, headed back to the pit lane, but the leader continues to be John Paul Jr.
Last through turn 4, John Paul, then it's Ari Leyendijk, and then Eddie Cheever, Scott Goodyear back in the pit.
Scott Goodyear is indeed on pit road. Once again, Scott is being shown in the 22nd position. And it has not been a good afternoon for the Pennzoil Panther Racing Team, headed by John Barnes, a new team in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League in 1998. And he didn't stop, did he, Johnny?
No, I didn't. I don't understand. It's the 2nd time he's done that. He went through the pits twice now, and just running around on the warm-up lane.
1, 2, and 3 are very close together on the racetrack as we watch them work through the north end of the racetrack. They're between turns 3 and 4. Now John Paul Jr. has his car in 4 onto the main straightaway, and that interval is definitely lessening as Ari Leyendijk begins to move in. We'll check him here at the line and see how close it is, but they race to turn 1.
John Paul Jr., Ari Leyendijk, there's Eddie Cheever. Well, they're just that quickly together. Now we wait. There's Davey Hamilton, and then on back to the rest of the field.
Smoothly through 2 in single file. Ari trying to close the gap, but at this point in time, John Paul Jr. still safely in front.
Well, we're trying to keep this race under green. We saw that Scott Goodyear pulled off on that concrete pad inside the exit of turn 2. He's gone behind that guardrail down there, so the green flag will remain out.
As they come through 4, John Paul the leader, but Ari Leyendijk trying to reel him in. A couple of car lanes back, it's Eddie Cheever, 1, 2, 3.
It was 0.6 of a second last time around, the interval between first and second position. It's exactly the same this time, and it's 1.4 seconds, make that 1.2 seconds. Back to the third place car of Eddie Cheever. Vince Welch is in Ari Leyendijk's pit as he tries to close in on the leader.
The Treadway team is simply amazed. Remember, they started on the inside of row 10 in the 28th position. They're all the way up to number 2. They don't have first gear, and the car runs best in fifth gear, but they are constantly reminding Ari to stay off the rev limiter as he chases John Paul for the lead here. Keep in mind, just a couple of things as far as Ari is concerned. He could have a problem in the pits because he doesn't have first gear, and the team has to push him out of the pit box in second, and also he's pushing that rev limiter literally to the limit.
Well, Ari Leyendijk took a look to the inside going into turn 1, but could not make the pass. They fall back into single file formation once again as they move through turn number 2, and Leyendijk now is getting a little bit of extra heat from Eddie Cheever as there is very little separation between second place Leyendijk and third place Cheever. They head for turn 3, Gary.
Well, right you are, Bob. In fact, about 10 car lengths between first and second, about 6 between second and third, and already they're in turn 4.
As they come through, it's still John Paul with the lead, Ari Leyendijk, but Eddie Cheever putting the heat on Ari for second.
I'm sure there's going to be some position changes because we have to go to break at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The 500 is 140 laps old. It's a great race as 7 cars are on the lead lap. They have not changed order. There goes John Paul Jr. There's Ari Leyendijk. There's Eddie Cheever still running 1, 2, 3. We go to Chuck Marlowe.
This is Billy Bode. I'm walking down through the garage area with Billy. So unfortunate, Billy. You had some trouble getting off at the first of the race. Then you dialed it in, and then all of a sudden it quits on you. What happened?
Well, we were pretty good at the start, and the thing started to go loose. Kind of hanging on, and then on one of those restarts, we had some kind of a gearbox problem, and then the thing got stuck in 2 gears, and then we brought it back to the garage area and fixed it, and then it finally broke something in the gearbox for good.
Well, it's a heartbreaking day for you, Billy, but thank you very much for spending time with us.
All right, thanks.
Billy Bode out of the race. We watch Ari Leyendijk close in once again on John Paul Jr., but John Paul Jr. is due for a pit stop before too long. That interval between first and second is just a matter of car lengths. It's interesting to note the speed, Johnny Rutherford.
Yeah, it really is. It's showing 209 for John Paul Jr. and Ari's running 213, so Ari's putting the pressure on.
And he is currently working through corner number 3. Again, we're keeping an eye on John Paul Jr. because soon he should be coming in for a pit stop, and he is. Ari Leyendijk is going to take the lead here as they come off the 4th corner, and Dave Calabro is going to watch this stop by John Paul Jr.
Team Pelfrey now 53 laps away from the Indy 500 championship, and John Paul Jr. very calm on the radio, talking to his crew, said, let's just make this a sweet stop. He's in, wipes the visor, all 4 Firestone tires being changed, taking on fuel. John Paul Jr., the air hose back over the wall here. There's quite a crowd down here taking on a lot of fuel. They hope to only make one more pit stop after this. A thumbs up from John Paul and his crew, and he's on the juice and out of the pit.
Accelerating down pit road. The speed limit, by the way, on pit road is 100 miles an hour. The drivers must stay below that while they are in the pit road. Gary Lee has an observation from turn 3.
Well, I was watching Jack Hewitt, and Jack was running on the outside, the high side of our old boy Zell, as he went into turn 3 and came off the corner and got up in that loose stuff, what would be the marbles and what is left from the stay dry, and almost white-walled the tires against the outside wall. He likes to run up close when he runs the sprint car at Eldora. You don't want to run that close here at Indy.
We anticipate a pit stop by Ari Leyendijk in 4 laps. This is the 6th time that Ari Leyendijk has led at the Indianapolis 500. He first led in 1990 for 37 laps, 92 for 1 lap, 93 in 14 laps, in 95 for 7 laps, and in 1997 he led 62 laps en route to his 2nd victory. Let's go to turn 2 and Ken Double.
Everyone wondering how long it would take Ari Leyendijk to move from the back of the pack to the top. He knows a lot about patience. He won the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier this year. He's been patient here today to get to the front.
And everybody that questioned me during this past week, we have 4 abreast in turn 3, Gary.
I'm holding my breath right now, and that's Ari Leyendijk, Cheever right behind him, and right behind them was Buzz Calkins, and boy, that was close entering turn 3.
It sure was. Everybody that questioned me during this past week, Ari Leyendijk now comes in a little earlier than we had anticipated, but nevertheless, Ari Leyendijk relinquishes the lead, and now Eddie Cheever has it as Vince Welch will call the pit stop by the 2-time and defending champion of the Indianapolis 500. Here he comes, Ari Leyendijk.
Ari Leyendijk coming in for a stop, caught his crew off guard. He was not expected to come in for another couple of laps, but he has just pulled the G-force in. They've got it up on the jacks, changing tires and adding fuel as expected. Remember, this is the same car that won the race a year ago. It was the very first G-force ever built, so they are loving this car. Ari is out and away. The stop not quite as quick as they had hoped, but remember, anytime they can get him out of the pit box in second gear, they call it a success.
Indeed, that is a serious problem. Jerry, is everything okay down there?
No, I don't think so. He is without any power coasting right in front of me right here. I don't know if it's the engine. Hold on a second, Bob. Well, I can't hear. I thought maybe I could pick up the sound of the engine. He is coasting. He'll never make it all the way around the way he's going. They got to come and do something with him right now.
Ari Leyendijk. It looks like that it may be over for him, Johnny.
He may have done the clutch in, trying to get it out in second gear. You know, we could hear it. I could hear it clear up here in the booth. So he was really had the hammer down, and when he sidestepped the clutch or when he tried to slip it out of there, it may have been too much for it.
Vince, what are you hearing down in his pit?
I'm with Fred Treadway, and Fred, we've known the entire race that you've been struggling with no first gear getting out of the pits. The clutch slipping again, is that the problem?
Clutch is slipping, yes. Clutch is slipping right now.
Do you feel fortunate to have challenged this long, considering the condition of the car?
Absolutely. And we got a good race car. We just got to get out of the pit.
This race is so often won or lost in the pits. It may have just been lost for Ari Leyendijk right here today.
The caution is out as Davey Hamilton is on pit road. He probably will want to go on through. No, he makes the stop. The caution is out because
once you get past the entrance,
okay,
and you're on pit lane, and the yellow comes on, you can go ahead and finish your pit stop.
Okay, he is going to complete the pit stop. Ari Leyendijk's car is stalled between 1 and 2. And the defending champion apparently is out of the race. Well, he came from the 10th row and made a good charge here this afternoon, but it all went away from him. Eddie Cheever is the leader of the race now as 153 laps have been completed. Well, the most laps in today's race have been led by John Paul Jr., but right now it is Eddie Cheever who is leading. John Paul Jr. has led 39 laps of this event. Mark James.
14.9 seconds of the stop for Eddie Cheever. Owen Snyder and company been operating like a well-oiled machine all day long, except for a little problem with the fueler early on, but they were worried that might cause some problems later in the race. It has not. Now, pitted right next to him, the driver in second place, Steve Knapp, of course. Steve, a part of that ISM Motorsports crew that split it off from Cheever's effort last year. When Eddie ran with Jeff Ward here last year, Jeff won Rookie of the Year, and of course Steve Knapp is poised to repeat that. He could be Rookie of the Year this year as well. Let's go to Chris Economic.
Down here at the start-finish line, I think this is my 51st Indy 500. I started in 38, and I can't remember an Indianapolis 500 where the leaders, so many leaders, have had problems and fallen by the wayside. In fact, if I was out front right now, recognizing how this race has been run, I would want to move back to second place until the last lap. This has been one tough 500 on those who lead.
Indeed. Here's Ari Leyendijk on the back of a tow truck, finding his pit area once again, but a tough break for Ari Leyendijk here as he was running in second position. Eddie Cheever now the leader, and Howdy has the rundown at 150 laps.
150 laps. First is 51 Cheever, second 5 Leyendijk, third 6 Hamilton, fourth 55 Knapp, fifth 91 Lazier. They're all on the lead lap. Sixth John Paul in 81, seventh 8th Sharp, eighth is 52 Robbie Unser. They're 1 lap back. 2 lap backs is in 9th spot 14 Brack, and then on back is 10th 77 Gregoire, 11th 44 Yaley, 12th 17 Michener, 13th 18 Hewitt, 14th 12 Calkins, 15th 7 Kite, 16th 35 Ward, 17th 16 Greco, 18th 10 Groff, 19th 97 Ray, 20th 30 Boiselle, 21st, 11 out of the race, Boat. 22nd, 4, Scott Goodyear out of the race. 23rd, 9, Johnny Unser out of the race. Still running. 24th, 40, Jack Miller. 25th, 21, Guerrero. The rest of these cars are out of the race in order. Schmidt, Dismore, Waddles, Guthrie, Rowe, Buell, Beechler, and Stewart. The average speed, 142.025 miles per hour at lap 150.
And the caution flag is continuing to wave over the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Vince Welch is down in Davey Hamilton's pit.
Well, we've got 45 laps to run. Davey Hamilton currently sits in 4th place. They've had some tire vibration problem throughout the day, but they've got it handled. His crew just came over the radio and said, now is the time to stand on it. Make your move now.
To turn 1.
Eddie Cheever took the lead. 91, Bob Lazier, Dab, Hamilton, John Paul. That's the way they are as they head to the second turn.
And everybody smoothly through 2. Single file we go as the race resumes. Everybody cleanly into the backstretch, headed to 3.
There are 3 cars that are out in front of your leaders, and side by side, John Paul Jr. on the inside and Davey Hamilton on the outside. Now, once again, there are 3 cars actually in front of Eddie Cheever.
Boy, those 3 cars are all the way out of his reach. Eddie Cheever, though, trying to pick up some ground. Buddy Lazier makes a move past one of the slower cars. He tries to catch Mr. Cheever.
Cheever moving down into turn number 1, but he does have some racing going on in front of him as a couple of cars who are on the tail end of the lead lap are battling for position. It is Cheever. Running second is Buddy Lazier. Then the 55 of Steve Knapp. 4th place is John Paul Jr. In 5th, Davey Hamilton. And those are the 5 cars that are currently on the lead lap.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, Buddy Lazier is on a mission. He is moving through traffic when he comes to it, just very violently, moving to side, going by. He is trying to get to the front.
Buddy Lazier trying to make it 2 Indy 500 wins. There is now a separation of 2 points to make that 1.2 seconds between Eddie Cheever, the leader, and Buddy Lazier running second. 161 laps completed at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the 82nd running of the Indy 500. I'm Bob Jenkins on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. Eddie Cheever is the leader of the 500 by almost 3 seconds over Buddy Lazier. 3rd place is Steve Knapp, and 4th is John Paul Jr. Those are the only 4 cars on the lead lap, and John Paul Jr. is trying to stay on the lead lap, although he is not too far ahead of our leader, Eddie Cheever. A lap down in 5th position is Davey Hamilton, and also a lap down in 6th position is Scott Sharp. The 7th position car is 2 laps down. That would be Robbie Unser. The 8th position car is also 2 laps down. That would be Kenny Breck. 9th place car is 3 laps down. That is Andy Mischner, and a good run for that young man from Ann Arbor, Michigan, whose father sponsored cars here in the Indianapolis 500 for many years. And 10th place goes to J.J. Yaley, another rookie, in fact, the youngest rookie in the 500 field. Donald Davidson.
Bob, just a couple of notes here that we're not going to have back-to-back winners. It hasn't happened since 1971 when Al Unser won in 70 and 71. Another thing, too, is we're looking at Steve Knapp. If he should hold on and finish in the first 3, this would be the 6th year in a row for a rookie to finish in the top 3. It used to be quite rare, but not anymore.
And, of course, the Rookie of the Year will receive an award from Bank One here in Indianapolis, a very prestigious award that has been handed down since the 50s here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Well, John Paul Jr. now has gone a lap down, so just 3 cars remain on the lead lap. Here's Dave Calabro.
A confusing situation for John Paul. The dashboard now has a yellow light on it. If the yellow comes on the track, it will kick on so the driver knows there's the yellow. John Paul's yellow light went on. He thought it was for him to slow down. He slowed down and got passed by traffic, and now he's complaining about the malfunction.
And Gary Lee has an observation in turn 3.
Well, it's probably too early to start talking about Rookie of the Year, but when you talk about rookie Robbie Unser having a great ride right now, and Robbie, of course, is a teammate to your leader, Eddie Cheever. Only twice before in the history have we had the Rookie of the Year and the winner coming out of the same team, in 1966 and also 1973. Good repeat again this afternoon.
We're seeing some really great racing in the back of the pack, or in the middle of the pack. We've been watching Andy Mishner and J.J. Yaley, a couple of rookies here at the 500, battle tooth and nail for position. Now they're both 3 laps down, but they're battling for 9th spot. Here they are in front of me. Yaley looks inside and won.
And then he changed his mind. You'll recall that Yaley brought up the yellow line on the very first lap. He'll settle in behind Andy Mishner as they go into the second quarter.
Indeed, settling behind, but trying to line them up as they get smoothly through 2. See if he can make a move on the backstretch, headed to 3.
Well, Michener is the midget veteran from Michigan. Yaley, the 21-year-old sprint car dirt specialist from Phoenix, Arizona. And they're running about 10 car lengths apart now across the North Short Chute.
As they head to 4, there is slower traffic in front, and it'll be Andy Michener who gets to Marco Greco first, and then J.J. Yaley right behind him. But the differential is a little wider than it was the last time around.
Indeed, so we'll go to Vince Welch in Barry Lyondike's pit.
Ari, you had trouble with first gear from the very beginning today. Are you surprised that you even had as good a run as you did before you finally went out?
No, not really. I mean, we knew we had a good car under race conditions, and I just had to be patient, with traffic. And the clutch was a problem all day. It really hurt me on restarts.
Who would you say is the one to beat that's out there now?
Well, I was just trying to figure out who is leading. Eddie Cheever strong.
He says Cheever's running strong. We'll keep an eye on it.
Cheever is running strong, but so is Buddy Lazier, and you wonder if he's biding his time because there are still quite a few laps to go in this race. Let's hear a report from the Eddie Cheever pit, Mark James.
It has been pretty smooth all day long. They've made no adjustments to the car whatsoever. Remember this time a year ago, standing on the top of the pit box as an owner, wondering if Jeff Ward had enough fuel left in the car to go the distance. And he knows right now as a driver he doesn't, and so he's looking at somewhere between lap 175 to 180, if not a few laps before that. So one more stop for Eddie Cheever.
We'll keep our eye on that pit stop. It's now lap 168 that have been completed. Again, if you're just tuning in, we are 168 laps in with Eddie Cheever leading. One major crash occurred involved some 7 cars. Jim Guthrie was taken to Methodist Hospital in downtown Indianapolis. He, however, was alert and awake and talking to his rescuers. However, he was taken down to the hospital complaining of a right arm pain and also pain in his left leg. We have not received any update from the Methodist Hospital people as to whether or not he is being held there or whether he has been released. But in any case, he has been the only driver that has gone to the hospital. Everybody else in that 7-car wreck was checked over at the Clarion Medical Center, which was renamed here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway earlier this month from the Dr. Tom Hanna Medical Center. So the Clarion Medical Center is where Dr. Henry Bach, the Director of Medical Services, works here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So it's Eddie Cheever. Now the interval between the first and second place car is 4.5 seconds. Last time around, Eddie Cheever clicked off a lap at 210.217 miles an hour. That was considerably faster than everyone else. Second place, Buddy Lazier ran 208.7, and third place, Steve Knapp at 208.0. But again, that greatly depends on what kind of travel they're dealing with on the racetrack.
It certainly does, and I think Eddie's probably smelling victory lane about now and having thoughts of that. So they're preparing it as we stand here and watch. It won't be long.
This is kind of a sad time for me when we watch them prepare victory lane. You know that the great month of May in Indianapolis is about to come to an end. Well, but it's about to come to an end for somebody and be very, very, very happy.
Yes, but then it also gives you the thought that, hey, another year we'll have it again.
That's right. It will be back, no question about that. That battle that we talked about earlier between J.J. Yaley and Andy Mishner has broken off. Yaley now is in 9th position and Mishner is in 10th spot. And as we look back through the serial scoring here, really still the closest interval is between first and second. It's varying from about 2.5 to 4 seconds. Right now it's up to 4 seconds. Bob Lamey in turn 4.
4 just a moment ago. Stefan Gregoire got way up high, may have brushed the wall just underneath us. A little bobble in the car. The yellow light has come out. Stefan Gregoire makes, I think, the first contact we've had all day here in turn 4, Bob.
And he is very slow down the main straightaway, pulling onto the warm-up lane.
It appeared that the right rear was askew. So if he did go up and white wall it, then he really white walled it good, and it's towed out, and you can see daylight under the outside edge of the tire, so I'm sure he's probably through for the day unless they want to bolt something on.
What this does, though, is allow these cars to get in for a final fuel stop because we only have 25, make that 24 laps to go. Donald?
Bob, I've been watching for the last few laps, and Jack Hewitt was beginning to reel in Stefan Gregoire for the 11th place, and although Stefan Gregoire has been in 500-mile races before, he's never gone the distance, and I'm wondering if he just got a little tired.
Well, that could very well be. We do see up toward turn number 4 some scuff marks on the outside wall, some black marks indicating that indeed Gregoire did get up and just bump the wall. Didn't hit it enough to stop the car, but did continue on down the main straightaway here. We go back to 4 and Bob Lamy.
You know, going on with what Donald said, I think that there is some validity there because it was Gregoire just drifted kind of high into the turn coming off 4, and it reminds you when you're driving, you get a little tired and you mentally relax for a split second. Things like that can happen. Gregoire comes down through the warm-up lane now and heads to the pits. But just a little scuff underneath below us on the wall, on the outside wall, coming off 4.
I was just watching, and Greg Ray had to go through the pits. I noticed that the pits were closed. Now they've opened the pits, so Greg Ray made a faux pas in coming into the pits while it was the flag was out. It was closed, waiting for the pace car to gather up the field. Now he's going to be coming back in again, I'm sure.
Okay, now we're going to see those on the lead lap, the 3 cars on the lead lap.
Here they all come.
Yeah. Several making pit stops here, including the leader, Eddie Cheever, second place, Buddy Lazier. And it looks like the third place car of Knapp also is coming down pit road. Let's go to Vince Welch.
Buddy Lazier getting ready to come in. His Dallara purple with the yellow trim. He's come to a stop. The clock is on him. They're going to give him some more front wing and also some stagger. This will be his last stop. It's clean so far. He's on the jacks. He's off the jacks. They're getting him ready. Make sure that the car fires up. It does, and he is away. Traffic. Lazier avoided some traffic as he exited the pit. Let's go to Mark Janes.
Smooth stops continue for Eddie Cheever. He was down and away in a little over 13 seconds, and Eddie Cheever is poised to head toward victory lane here at the Indianapolis 500. Now let's go to Dave Calabro.
Well, John Paul's incredible run just may have gone up in smoke. They had problems getting the car in gear. The guys had to push it about 50 yards out of the pit box, but he's finally under power.
Well, John Paul Jr.'s car is being wheeled back to his pit stall. As a matter of fact, it never caught Johnny, and that's a tough break for John Paul.
It really is a tough break for John Paul because he was doing so well, and for whatever reason, the thing didn't catch right, and the engine didn't pick up. It coasted to a stop here in front of us, and they're taking it back probably 75 or 100 yards back up the track.
So we're under caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pit stops have been made. We'll have the final 23 laps coming up here in a moment. Coming off of corner number 4, the green flag waves, and we are back to racing at Indianapolis. Eddie Cheever disposes of Jeff Ward and puts several cars between him and the leader, and the second place, Buddy Lazier.
Boy, Eddie Cheever's been strong all day. Lazier runs second, the rookie Knapp is third, Hamilton's fourth, Scarf runs fifth. They're in the short 2, now they're settling off into the number 2 turn.
Cheever, no problem.
Jerry Baker.
We have a spin up against the outside wall in the short chute. I can't pick it up, but Ken, it's over in front of you right now.
It's Jack Hewitt, and what a shame. He banged the wall, although the car is still going. He is under power through 2 and along the backstretch. He'll be able to get it maybe to the pit lane, but he smacked the outside of 2 and again able to right the ship, so to speak, and it's still moving down the back straightaway under power.
Don't know if he'll be able to complete this race at this point in time, but what a shame for the veteran yet rookie here at Indianapolis.
That's right. He is certainly a veteran of the short tracks around the country, competing, he told me the other night, over 150 times a year, and making it to the Indianapolis 500 for the first time this year and being the oldest driver in the field.
That was he was a lot of fun to work with in the rookie orientation, and he listens.
We're watching it on replay. He did a half spin, and I'm not sure that he touched anything. He slid to the inside, got into the grass, and he came off corner number 2. The car got sideways on him. He did a half spin, regained control nicely. I don't think he touched anything.
It doesn't look like it, but the wheels don't quite look right.
Well, he does have flats on the right side of the car, and they could be flat on the other side too. Yeah. Ken Double in turn 2.
There does seem to be some kind of a mark right smack dab in the middle of 2 where perhaps there may have been a slight touch, but again, difficult to tell. I picked it up a little bit late after seeing some smoke and the spin, and again, him miraculously able to get the car under control.
I think there's something wrong with the car.
Yeah, it appears that way. I think the bottom is dragging, and that's terminal for one of the cars. If you rub a hole in the under tray, then aerodynamically it's junk, and you really shouldn't be back out there. So we'll see what they do when they get it up in the air.
Gary Lee, the big news is, though, that Jack Hewitt made the feature.
Oh, I tell you what, that's exactly what he told a friend of his. He said, as soon as the feature's over, I'm going to go to Eldora and run the USAC sprint cars. And the guy said, what feat you talking about? He said, well, the 500. The guy said, you can't call the 500 a feat. He said, it's a race, ain't it? And I tell you what, he had tears in his eyes when he qualified. You could hear the emotion this morning when we talked to him in the pre-race ceremonies. And one thing he said, I know my dad is looking down, but I wish you were here with me.
Well, his father passed away last year, and for several races after that, Jack Hewitt tried to win one for his dad. Finally did, but after several attempts, and again, I agree that I think his dad and everybody that follows open wheel short track racing around the country is proud of Jack Hewitt, just like they were a year ago when the World of Outlaws champion started here in the 500, Steve Kinser. Gary?
I love these race fans. The race fans stood and applauded Jack as he drove through turn 3. They waved their hats. And you love to see that kind of response because they can appreciate what he went through to get here, a 46-year-old rookie, and they can certainly appreciate the job he's done here
Gary,
this afternoon.
guess who's going down pit lane at 100 miles an hour with no smoke from the car? Jack Hewitt is back in the race.
All right.
He's motoring up to the end of the field, so don't count Jack Hewitt out of this thing after all.
We're going to have to nickname him Iron Man.
What a guy. Ken Double in turn 2.
And the same thing Gary Lee was just talking about. All the fans here on their feet and waving and cheering as Jack Hewitt gets it back up to speed and back onto the race course.
We are ready to go green once again here at Indianapolis. The pace car off. Now the green flag waves, and back to racing here in Indianapolis. Eddie Cheever and Buddy Lazier are running first.
Now directly behind the lead.
There are over 200 full-color pages of Indiana.
Margin over. Buddy Lazier is a matter of car links. We'll keep an eye on him as Howdy Bell brings us the 175-lap rundown.
This 175-lap update sponsored by Kroger, the official food and drug store of the Indianapolis 500. Count on Kroger. At 175, first is 51 Cheever, second 91 Lazier, third 55 Knapp. They're all on the lead lap. Fourth 81 Paul, fifth 6 Davey Hamilton, sixth 8 Scott Sharp, seventh 52 Unser, 8th 14 Breck, 9th 44 Yaley, 10th 17 Michener, 11th 77 Gregoire, 12th 18 Hewitt, 13th 7 Kite, 14th 12 Calkins, 15th 35 Ward, 16th 16 Greco, 17th 10 Groff, 18th 97 Greg Ray, 19th 5 Ari Landike out of the race, 20th 30 Boiselle running, 21st 11 Billy Bode out of the race, 22nd running 40 Jack Miller, 23rd 21, 24th is 4 Goodyear. He is out of the race, as are the rest of these cars. Johnny Unser, Sam Schmidt, Mark Dismore, Stan Waddles, Guthrie, Rowe, Buell, Beechler, and Stewart. The average speed 145.954 miles per hour at lap 175.
I thought maybe Buddy Lazier would be able to move in on Eddie Cheever and give him a challenge, but right now the interval is lengthening between first and second. It's 1.6 seconds. Here's Mark Janes at the north pit.
The media horde has converged on the pit of Eddie Cheever. Crew members riding out these last few laps in vastly different manners, some just watching, some with their heads down, some patting one another on the back. Many felt the missing piece of this puzzle for Eddie Cheever would be Owen Snyder. He was here a year ago for the history-making run of Steve Kinser, his first run at Indy. Now he's poised to find himself on his way to Victory Circle, heading up Eddie Cheever's effort.
And a turn 2 and Ken Double.
Talking earlier about the Yaley-Mitchner battle. They got side by side right in front of the turn 2 sweep and almost smacked. We almost had a big one. Keep an eye on that. It could bring out a yellow late.
Let's go to Vince Welch. We do have Greg Ray moving very slowly in the warm-up lane. We'll also keep an eye on that as we go to Vince Welch.
Buddy Lazier is running second with 12 laps to go. His wife, Kara, up on the score stand, cheering her husband by each time. Team owner Ron Himmelgarn taking his view from the track and then back to the monitor, also checking the telemetry. Also, Lee Koonsman, one of the veterans of this team, also keeping an eye on what the computer reads out. This is a team that believes they can win, and they're in a great position to do so with 11 laps. But they also know that Cheever is running very strong down the stretch.
Here's Dave Calabro.
And I'm watching Steve Knapp, the rookie, who's currently running in third, about 15 seconds behind the leaders. All of his crew gathered around the computer watching this. Steve Knapp said he was just excited to make the show. Can't wait to hear what he has to say after finishing. Oh, it looks like he could be in the top 3 if he can hang on.
He's 16.6 seconds behind Eddie Cheever at the moment, and the interval between first and second is lengthening. It's now up to 3.1 seconds, the interval that Eddie Cheever has over second place, Buddy Lazier. Vince Welch has another report.
Buddy Lazier just came over the radio and told his team that they've developed a push, and that's why they're falling back.
Yellow.
That's why they're falling back. Now there's a yellow. Let's go to the booth.
It's Marco Greco, and it's nothing serious, just a big puff of smoke out of the back of that International Sports Limited machine. He is in the warm-up lane, and so if he is putting down any fluid, it's not on the racetrack. He's in front of Bob Lamey in turn number 4.
Marco Greco is moving slowly toward the pits. He'll get there. Greg Ray had come in and pushed it in to the area just in front of the ambulance and the service machines. They had to push him away so their vantage point was clear in case they're needed. But he's out of the way, and Marco Greco is now back in the pits. Let's go to turn 3 and Gary Lee.
Well, he did a bit of driving on that one because he blew the engine coming through 3, got some oil in the rear tires. The car tweaked on him big time in the short chute, and he had to crank it full lock right to save it. So a good job of driving on the part of Marco Greco.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network. Under caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, now with a little less than 9 laps to go. And of course, this yellow light does indeed close up the field, so Buddy Lazier, who had fallen back to almost 4 seconds behind Cheever, now will be able to close in and give it another run.
4 rookies in the top 12.
Good job, Johnny Rutherford. You and Al Unser Sr. work very hard with the rookies, and you have taught them well, it would appear.
Well, I certainly hope so. If we had anything to do with that, I wouldn't think so.
Here's Chrissy Konamaki.
You know, it's interesting now. We've got a very, very significant restart coming up here. Some of the drivers from Formula One, which is Eddie Cheever's beginning, have really found it difficult to grasp the restart technique that our short track veterans know. And I'm wondering what Johnny Rutherford thinks Buddy Lazier may have up his sleeve on this most significant of all of today's restart.
Well, Cheever better be watching his 6 because Lazier is going to be flying when they come around the corner and try to have a run at him. And that's the key, is getting there quicker to the green flag than the other guy, and that's called a Texas start. Chris, you know about those.
3 cars on the lead lap. Steve Knapp running third, Buddy Lazier second, and Eddie Cheever is the leader of the race. Cheever, of course, a former Formula One competitor, joining the racing here in the United States several years ago. Donald?
Yeah, I think he had 131 starts, and he never won a Grand Prix, but he was on the podium several times. So what I'm looking for here is we should have a start here, we think probably at 194 perhaps. And we remember the restart in 1986 when Bobby Rahal managed to pull one on Kevin Cogan on a restart and took the lead. I think that was just with 2 laps to go. and then he held Kevin Koganoff to win the race. So leading late in the race and not winning has happened many times. We're going to have to scramble through the things here and see that probably there might have been upwards of 8 to 10 people that have led at like lap 193, 194, and not won the race.
Coming up is the conclusion of lap number 193. Vince Welsh again in the Buddy Lazier pit.
Well, we told you a moment ago that Buddy's had some problems with the push. He just communicated with his crew once again. They told him they're really out of solutions as far as what they can do for him out on the course. They said, get close on the restart and try to pass him then. Recall on the last restart, Lazier got by 2 people that were between he and Cheever. So on the restart this time, Lazier's going to try to make the pass and then hold on for victory.
That will come in one more lap. Donald Davidson.
Oh, I was holding up one finger to tell you one more lap.
Indeed, they'll go green next time around. So let's go to turn 2 and Ken Double.
It's interesting to recall Buddy Lazier in winning that race in '96 was going through that horrendous back pain. You wondered after all the problems he had how he could sit in the race car 500 miles. Now I think the pain is probably a little farther to the south in the anatomy, being provided by one Eddie Cheever.
Eddie Cheever won, of course, the Indy 200 at Walt Disney World in 1997 and looks to add another win in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League here this afternoon, the Indianapolis 500. They will complete lap number 194 and then get the green flag and go back to racing. Let's hope that we can have these final 6 laps under green, Johnny.
Yes, for sure. And, of course, Cheever's not going to be easy. Whatever Lazier's thinking about back there, I'm sure Cheever is thinking he's not going to do it. So it's let's just hope that Cheever doesn't pass the pace car.
That is something that happened, of course, a few years ago with Scott Goodyear. We see that the field up in the third corner of the racetrack, the fans are standing on their feet as they cheer the drivers through. Now we should be able to see the acceleration. Indeed, Eddie Cheever picks up the pace as they come off corner number 4. Cheever goes to the inside trying to break a bit of a draft, and Buddy Lazier is right behind him as they head for turn 1.
Eddie Cheever, then Buddy Lazier. They're just that close together. 2 lap cars. It will go back to them. They're in the short chute. It is still Cheever, then Lazier.
And continues to be Cheever and Lazier, and now Cheever beginning to stretch away just a little bit again as he has command heading into turn 3.
Halfway down this 5/8 mile backstretch, he sets up for the 9-degree banking of turn 3. About 6, 8, 10 car lengths now separating first and second across the north short chute to turn 4.
Eddie Cheever still holds sway as they come through turn 4, lengthening just a bit over Buddy Lazier. Buddy trying every trick he's got to catch him as they head to the start-finish line.
195 laps complete. It's still Cheever leading Lazier.
Between these 2 guys, they've won $3.5 million here at the Speedway, but the big prize is still up for grabs, and it's still Eddie Cheever's in turn 2.
Eddie Cheever in control right now. No problems evident whatsoever as his lead continues to lengthen little bit by little bit, heading to turn 3.
His best finish back in 1992. He finished 4th. His team kind of fell apart late in the year last year when the team managers broke away and took the sponsorship with him. He almost brushed the outside wall in the short chute.
But he's still the leader going through 4 with Lazier trying to catch him. But it's Cheever in control as they head toward 1.
He almost brushed the wall coming out of 4 also, but he's in good shape as he heads to 1.
The 1990 Rookie of the Year now has some breathing room. Several hundred yards between he and the number 2 spot as they head in that short chute now, sprinted out to go to the backstretch.
The owner-driver of car number 51 is in control of the Indianapolis 500, moving smoothly down the back straightaway into 3.
Now, right now, it's his race to win, but boy, oh boy, is he using every inch of racetrack in the entry to turn 3. He moved out wide and once again almost brushed the wall.
Coming through 4, he's down low. Comes out, but nowhere near the wall as he heads down the main straightaway.
3 laps to go at Indianapolis. Eddie Cheever leads Buddy Lazier. Steve Knapp is in 3rd position, and Eddie Cheever is once again in turn 1.
2 cars on Goodyear tires, numbers 1 and 2. No change in the distance. It is still a strong effort by Eddie Cheever into the second corner.
Low down along the white line through 2, up high along the wall, down the back straightaway. Cheever continues to lead the pack.
I don't know if his heart is skipping a beat, but every time he gets so close to the wall, mine does, and he is using, again, every inch of the racetrack off the third corner, very close to getting to the wall on the north short chute, and he dives into turn 3.
Into turn 4, he's in control down the main straightaway. Buddy Lazier running second, and Robbie Unser making a move to try to reel in Buddy Lazier.
The interval is about 2 seconds now as Cheever stretches it out over Lazier.
It's a nice, smooth, easy move right now for Cheever. He just went by. There goes Lazier. I think he's added a few more car lengths as they hit her that second corner.
He is slowly but surely stretching it out. Eddie Cheever eyeing his first Indianapolis 500-mile victory.
Eddie Cheever well on his way into turn 3 as that gap continues to widen out. The fans standing and cheering as he enters the north short chute into turn 4.
What's he thinking? He has the fourth turn to negotiate. He does it very well. Eddie, with nothing in that rearview mirror now, victory is almost his as he heads to the start-finish line.
The white flag is out. One more lap to go for Eddie Cheever.
He attended grade school and high school in Rome. He resides in Tampa, Florida. He's loving Indianapolis right now. Eddie Cheever into the second turn.
Down low along the white line, back up high in front of the turn 2 sweep, and cleanly down the back straightaway, Cheever into 3.
It's tough enough to win as just the driver, but here he is, the driver and the team owner. The final time through turn 3, the fans on their feet, nicely across the north short chute into turn 4.
Everybody standing and cheering Eddie Cheever. He's going to get his first. Eddie around through 4. His hand pumping in the air. He heads to the finish here to call it Bob Jenkins.
In his ninth start, Eddie Cheever wins the 1998 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Let's go to Dave Calabro.
Well, we're down in the pit area. Here's Owen Snyder going on live with ABC right now, but we'll try to move in here as the crowd's going crazy. Owen, everybody bumping and shoving. Owen, congratulations.
Outstanding effort today.
I'll tell you, it was a team effort. You know, we made a mistake. Halfway in the race. It didn't affect us. We got back on our game plan, and what a team effort. I mean, I've got so many guys to thank. So many guys that have helped me 10, 15 years ago in my career, and I think I brought just a little bit to Eddie. Eddie used his experience today, and boy, I'll tell you what, he was there. He was there all day. He was on his game.
Owen Snyder here in Victory Lane, waiting to take his ride to Victory Lane as he leads Eddie Cheever to victory here. And it's a total chaos as they bring home the Rachel's potato chip car. Eddie Cheever has said how much he had the fastest potato chip on the course, and it worked today. Let's go back up to the booth.
And we're seeing Eddie Cheever and his teammate Robbie Unser very close together on the racetrack as Robbie is congratulating his owner and the winner of the Indy 500. Let's go to Vince Welch in the second position pit, Buddy Lazier.
Well, and Buddy Lazier finishes second, and Ron Himmelgarn, his team owner. I know it's not the feeling you had in 1996, but did you really have a chance once you didn't get him on that last restart?
You know, Eddie's a little quicker. You can see it. He just got a little quicker. If we'd got him on the start, I think we could have beat him. But he just had a little bit more power than we did, and we'll just have to take a second, and that's sure a lot better than finishing last. So we'll take second any day.
Beats the heck out of that feeling you were experiencing at the beginning of last week. There were a lot of long faces in this pits. Congratulations on getting it turned around and finishing strong.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ron Himmelgarn and Buddy Lazier finishes second today to Eddie Cheever in the Indianapolis 500.
And this is a beautiful sight here at Indianapolis. Just like at the Daytona 500 when Dale Earnhardt finally won his Daytona 500, all pit crew members have gone out to the center of pit road and are giving the thumbs up to Eddie Cheever, congratulating him on a hard-fought victory here at Indianapolis today. This is an unbelievable sight as Eddie, now just before us down below, pulls that number 51 car into victory lane, the most coveted spot in all of auto racing, and he raises his fists and says, I did it. Here's Jack Arute.
Formula 3000, then in Formula 1, and then in kart, and now in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. But he also once said that it was a living, breathing organism they called the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He gets the congratulations. The official Borg Warner trophy is being positioned on his rear wing. Triumphant as he is, Eddie Cheever, now calling Tampa, Florida his home, has come to victory lane. They say that Indy is a place that makes American heroes. And Eddie Cheever, you are the winner of the 82nd Indianapolis 500. Congratulations.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
He gets the congratulations of Owen Snyder. Snyder's been here before with Al Unser Jr. Eddie, let's go back to the start of the race. There was an altercation with J.J. Yaley, and we seem to think that maybe you were involved in it as well. Was it a close call?
I turned into one at the start of the race, and somebody bumped me from behind. The car went sideways, and I thought, I don't want to end this way. And I had about 15 guardian angels out to me today. I had 5 or 6 close calls, but I squeezed through all of them.
Let's talk about near the end of the race. It looked like you were going to do a wall wang up there. It was reminiscent coming out of a corner of your qualifying run. How close was it?
I wasn't going to finish second. Second was not in the books today. These are going to win or not finish at all.
Well, they say the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a place for heroes, American heroes. And now the emblematic sip of the All-American drink. Eddie Cheever, when you started your driving career, what did Indy mean to you?
My father told me, I was raised in Italy, and my father told me that if you're going to win one race in the life, win the Indy 500. This one's for my dad. Paul?
Eddie Cheever in victory lane, being kissed by the 500 Festival Queen, and now Florence Henderson, who is a good friend of the Holman George family in victory lane, gives Eddie a big kiss as the winner of the Indianapolis 500. Johnny, it's a special time, and it's a moment that Eddie Cheever will remember for the rest of his life.
You can bet on that. It's a great sense of accomplishment and fulfillment to be able to pull into victory lane at the Indianapolis 500, and of course that won't impact him just yet. It'll take a few days before it sinks in, but right now he knows that he's in a special place, and he's joined a group, quite a good group.
And he will begin to realize it a little bit more tomorrow night when over $1 million is handed out to him at the victory banquet here in Indianapolis. So the final margin of victory was 3.1 seconds. Eddie Cheever wins over Buddy Lazier. And the third-place car of Steve Knapp was 6.7 seconds behind the only other car on the lead lap. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where Eddie Cheever is still celebrating his victory below us in victory lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cheever wins the Indianapolis 500 over Buddy Lazier and Steve Knapp. Joyous celebration. The wreath is around Eddie Cheever's neck. The milk has already been drunk, and now he turns around and faces the other side of the racetrack and receives the applause of the fans on the outside of the straightaway here at Indianapolis. Okay, we have several drivers to talk to. Let's go first to Vince Welch, who is with the fourth-place driver, Davey Hamilton.
Well, Davey Hamilton gave it a strong run throughout the day. In fact, made one extra pit stop because of a near incident. And if you take away that extra stop, he may be the one in victory lane with the wreath around his neck. Davey, you had a near miss early in the race with Sam Schmidt.
Yeah, it was surprising. What happens, I got behind Mike Groff in turn 2 on a restart and slowed me way down. I seen it look like a pack of wolves coming behind me because they had a run on me. And my spotter down turn 3 said, watch out high, and I could see Johnny Unser in my mirror up high. And so I just kept my line and went down, and I never even seen Sam. I guess he made a last-minute effort to try to go underneath me and hit me in the back of the car and got us sideways before they went ahead and crashed. And it hit us hard enough that we weren't going to gamble, so we went ahead and made an extra pit stop. And then and we stayed on the same lap, though, because under yellow. And then we came in, we was in the back of the field. We worked our way back up, and then we got caught on a yellow. We just pulled in, the yellow came out, and everybody else, just luck of the draw, and that hurt us too. And I stalled in the pit, so there's a driver error there too. So, I told myself last year if I don't make mistakes, I could win this thing, and one just was a happening, and the other one was I made a mistake. So that's the way it goes, and we'll come back and get him.
A strong showing, though, for Davey Hamilton. He was 12th in 96, 6th a year ago. He took another step up today, 4th at the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500. Dave Calabro?
You were the guy who finished in the top 5. Congratulations to Robbie Unser. That was a heck of a run. You said you had a big smile on your face and said that was fun.
That was. It was a lot of fun. It was more fun than I've ever had.
Bye, Dad. Well, let's get your dad back over before he takes off. Hey, Bobby, we want to talk to you real quick here. It looks like you aged a couple of years.
Oh, I told you it's a lot easier. It's a whole lot easier to do yourself than it is to watch this. But, the whole
team went good today, and that was really important because you can't win this thing without team effort. Robbie did his job, but the whole team did. I mean, the guys, all their pit stops were good. There was no screw-ups from them. Had a mistake coming in where he couldn't get stopped because he didn't have any rear brakes that one time. But if we add up all of his pit stops plus the extra one he had to make, that for sure guaranteed him a second or third spot, you know.
Well, Bobby Unser, congratulations to you and your son, Robbie. And was that the wildest thing you've ever been through?
It was definitely one of the most funnest, and it was difficult because I had to be careful. We didn't have any rear brakes. I had to really think and look ahead and not get excited, but I got to tell you, I had a good race car the whole race. I keep it on top of the weight jacker and just go a little bit one way or another, and it dialed right in. And I know I had a good race car. I had a good race car through a whole tank, and if I would have had brakes, I really think we would have had a top 3 car.
I know you're happy for the boss man, Eddie Cheever, too.
Yeah, that was great. That was really, really great. I know how bad Eddie wants it, and you know, he's just a real special guy. He's become a close friend. He's laid his heart and his team out to me all the way, and I appreciate it.
Well, we'll let you go. Say congratulations to the boss, Robbie Unser, running in the top 5, finishing 5th place today. The Unser tradition continues at Indianapolis. Let's go back now to Chris Economaki. Chris?
Well, thank you very much. I'm down here just outside of Victory Land, and perhaps the most interested spectator of all is the man who runs the place, Tony George, the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What did you think this morning when you got up, Tony, about the chances of having a race today?
Well, about 4:30, you know, I was awakened by the rain and the thunder, and I just rolled over and put the pillow over my head. And I knew at that time that it didn't sound good, but when I woke up, you know, I started hearing reports that the weather forecast was improving, and I knew if we got a shot that the crew would get the track ready to go as close to on time as possible, and they did a great job. John Lewis, Mel Harder, and all the track safety crew, they just did a great job. And we weren't too late, and we had a good race, pretty safe, and you know, it was a nice result. And I think the fans obviously are happy. They're all sticking around.
That's good. You know, I can't remember, but I think it's been since Wilbur Shaw won in 1936 that an owner-driver has won the race. We got to go to the record books for that, and that's unique and different. Congratulations on the IRL concept, Tony.
What about Foyt? He keeps saying, who do you think owned all those cars when I won?
Well, you got a good point there. So AJ did. Well, see, you're better off on the records than I am. Anyway, let's get back to the IRL. It's going great. Are you happy with the progress of it?
Yeah, I think it's coming along real well, and you know, we've just got a lot of momentum, and we've been blessed with some very close competitive racing, and the corporate sponsorship is starting to come around for some of these teams, because without strong teams, you know, it's just not possible to keep it up, and I think we're proving that you know, we have a good product, and folks are starting to really support it.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Tony. Now to Dave Calabro.
We're with the gentleman who finished 3rd today. Congratulations, Steve Knapp.
Thank you very much. You know, Miller Milling and the ISM team did a super job. Prima Donna Resorts, all the people are backing me here, and the car was easy to drive. It made my job easy.
Well, congratulations to Steve Knapp. Let's go to Chuck Marlowe.
Okay, I have Buddy Lazier right down here. Buddy is dropping his helmet out behind him. I'll tell you, if it wasn't for that last few laps push, you might be in there.
Yeah, we gave it everything we had, and you know, my guys really did a good job getting me back up. We went down almost a lap at the beginning of the race for an unscheduled pit stop. My guys did a good job, but I'm just totally out. I went as far as the weight jacker could go and used up my sway bars and just about hit the wall a couple of times trying to catch Eddie there, but you got to go for it. We just had a big push at the end. Just didn't have enough for him. He did a great job.
Well, it's a courageous job on your part, buddy.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's Buddy Lazier, and now let's talk to John Paul Jr. and Vince Welch.
John Paul, what a terrific run. He finished 7th today and had run all the way up near the top. And, John?
Our car was better by itself. In front, it was really good. In traffic, it had a big washout in 1 and 3. So it was always tough. You could catch up to people, but you couldn't hardly ever go by them. I could stay with them. That was about all. And then Cheever and I came in the pits together that last time. And I overheated the clutch sitting there waiting for that last fill-up. When I tried to go, it just wouldn't go into gear. Went into gear, but just wouldn't. I let the clutch out and it wouldn't accelerate. That was a heartbreaker. Finally cooled off enough to put it in 4th gear, and we ran the rest of the way in 4th on the restarts.
Well, it wasn't the way John Paul wanted it to finish, but he did run up near the front and finished 7th. Not bad for a guy that didn't have a sponsor at the beginning of the week.
Very impressive showing. Here's the unofficial rundown from Howdy Bell.
At 200 laps, your winner and champion, 51 Cheever. Second, 91 Lazier. Third, 55 Rookie Knapp. Those three on the lead lap. Fourth, 6 Hamilton. Fifth, 52 Robbie Unser. Sixth, 14 Brack. Seventh, 81 Paul. Eighth, 17 Michener. Ninth, 44 Yaley. 10th, 12 Calkins. 11th, 7 Kite. 12th, 18 Hewitt. 13th, 35 Jeff Ward. 14th is out of the race, 16 Greco. 15th still running, 10 Groff. 16th out of the race, 8 Sharp. 17th running, 77 Gregoire. 18th out of the race, 97 Greg Ray. 19th, 30 running, Raul Boisel. 20th out of the race, 5th Lyondike. 21st, 40 Miller. 22nd, 21 Guerrero. The balance of these cars out of the race. 23rd Boat. 24th Goodyear. 25th Unser. 26th Schmidt, 27th Dismore, 28th Waddles, 29th Guthrie, 30th Rowe, 31st Buell, 32nd Beechler, 33rd 1 Stewart. The average speed for the 500 miles, 145.155 miles per hour. Bob?
We have less than 90 seconds. I want to get a final comment from each of our turn reporters, but please, gentlemen, make it quickly. First, Jerry Baker.
Well, you might not have been too surprised if you look at the record. Cheever finished 24th at Orlando, 10th at Phoenix, and just a terrific win for a terrific guy, Bob.
And to turn 2, Ken Double.
And for the fans, we didn't have to worry about 101 laps with rainy conditions. We got a sensational race in, closing with great sunshine.
And to turn 3, and Gary Lee.
I've been here covering this since 1973, and I think I've enjoyed this race the most of all. Thanks, Bob.
Bob Lamey in turn number 4.
Safe, clean, great win for Eddie Cheever.
Johnny Rutherford, nice to have you with us again.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I think the future is secure for the IRL and the Indianapolis 500.
Donald?
Thank you, Bob. Enjoyed it once again. Steve Knapp, 3rd, and that is the 6th year in a row that a rookie's finished in the top 3.
Again, the winner, Eddie Cheever, 3.1 seconds over Buddy Lazier. Steve Knapp, the rookie, finishes in 3rd position. Those 3 cars were on the lead lap at the end of 200 laps, 500 miles here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the celebration continues in Victory Lane. The Borg Warner Trophy now on the back of that number 51 car that Eddie Cheever drove to victory here this afternoon. Today's live coverage of the 82nd Indianapolis 500 has been brought to you by Team Monte Carlo, Chevy, the cars more champions trust. By Pennzoil, specially formulated to protect your engine against today's harsh stop-and-go driving conditions. Stop, go, Pennzoil. By Pep Boys, everything but gas. And by Kroger, the official food and drug store of the Indianapolis 500. CM311, PCC, PZM, and SAS microphones furnished by Crown International of Elkhart, Indiana. Additional audio support by Caboose Productions of Indianapolis. The network coordinator is Julio Fernandez. The technical director is Tom Alabrandy in his 33rd year here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hats off to Tom Alabrandy this afternoon. The engineering liaison is Jim Borgioli. Master control operations by Tom Alabrandy II. Norm Birnbaum, Chris Pollock, and Tom Scholler. Production assistance by John Acton, Bev Alabrandy, Chris Layton, Brian Livingston, Ken Martin, Jenny Nickel, Greg Oldham, and Steve Wilmus. Turn spotters, Ramona Baker, Jeff Oldham, Sean Lee, and Bonnie Lamey. And Dave Wilson also helped out in the pits. Our turn announcers, Jerry Baker, Ken Double, Gary Lee, and Bob Lamey. Our pit reporters, Vince Welch, Mark James, Dave Calabro, and Chris Economaki. Covering the garage and hospital was Chuck Marlowe, producer of the show, John Royer. Join us Saturday, June 6th for the True Value 500 from the Texas Motor Speedway, and we thank you very much for listening to the Indianapolis 500. Well, for the 82nd time, a fantastic racing spectacle has occurred. Its throng of devoted fans have followed many different paths to witness it. Traditions have been continued. Milestones have been reached. The continuing history of the world's most famous sporting event has just added its newest story. 1998 Indianapolis 500 winner Eddie Cheever is now among auto racing's headliners. He and his entire team are now experiencing a powerful euphoria that few others have achieved. The title of 500 champion is an honor and a title that will always be proudly worn. There is yet another milestone that will be observed between now and May of 1999. On the verge of a new millennium, this grand race course will celebrate its 90th birthday. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway has given all of us a full lifetime of automobile excellence, daring heroes, and racing thrills. And the future looks very bright as we prepare to end this century and begin the next. The 1999 Indianapolis 500-mile Classic will be held on May 30th. And so for now, this is Bob Jenkins in the Master Control Tower wishing you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you are in the world right now. We're at the crossroads of America, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network.